suppose it's one of our longest running and most successful master's program. It is aimed at people who have already done an undergraduate program in accounting and who want to progress on then to postgrad level. So students coming onto the program will have completed a degree in accounting or a degree in business specialising in accounting. What they'll do then is build on their undergraduate modules and cover things like tax, auditing, performance management, advanced financial accounting, advanced finance. And from this September, they will also now study a new module on data analytics. And we are also revising the case study module, and they will cover artificial intelligence, blockchain, and cryptocurrencies, everything that you would expect, I suppose, from a modern accountant.
Yeah, so what's great about the program, I suppose, Patricia, is the fact that it evolves, so it doesn't just stand still on accountancy. And you mentioned entry requirements there. So can you remind people watching tonight, what do you need again for the MA in accounting?
Sure. To get onto this program, you will need to have studied to honours degree level accounting or business with a specialism in accounting. And maybe no harm to remind people that are maybe starting and looking at their CAO options, you can take accounting at LYIT without having studied it at Leaving Cert. So you can come in without any accounting, do your 3-year honours degree and progress on to the Masters.
That makes it a very, I suppose, unique selling point in terms of that program, being able to do a 3-year level 8 and a 1-year master's within
right.
nearly 4 years.
Yeah.
That's just exceptional.
I suppose the great thing then is that this program gets the maximum exemptions from professional accounting bodies that you can get in Ireland. Wow. And it's got a really good reputation with practice and industry. And in fact, practice come to us regularly looking for our graduates. So it's well known as a Master's in Accounting program.
So reputation, and I suppose that is a unique aspect of the program then, Patricia, is the fact the generous exemptions from the professional bodies.
Yep, that's what makes the program really attractive. And the other element is the work placement. So the work placement is in effect like an 8-week interview where many of the companies will keep our students. But what we're discovering more and more is we have students that are being funded by companies to do the Masters and then go back and rejoin them to complete their training contracts.
That's amazing. And again, I suppose that leads into my next question was about career prospects and opportunities. Having a work placement in a Master of Arts like this, very much linking with industry, is a very positive thing.
It's fantastic. And you see, students will often say to us that they don't get the opportunity to go out on work placement, which is something that they will be able to do in the undergraduate accounting degree from September. But for those that have come through their undergrad already, this gives them the opportunity to get a placement and get into a workplace. So it's really positive.
Yeah, it's really good. And now we have a new program in your department, the MSc in Strategy, Enterprise and Innovation. So could you tell me a bit about this new program?
Absolutely. So we're very excited about this because it's the first master's program that we've designed in business studies to be completely online. So it is an exciting development, and I suppose students and staff learned a lot during the pandemic, and they really, I suppose, developed their skills in online teaching and learning. So this program is targeted at people with a degree in business or a degree that has at least 50% of the modules in business. So for example, law and business. And what it will do is kind of develop those core competencies and skills around strategy and innovation and take it to another level. So they're going to cover things like organizational transformation, customer experience, innovation, entrepreneurship, ethics and sustainability, HRM and the future of work. So really current topics in any, I suppose, modern workplace. And again, with this program, students will have the option to do a traditional master's dissertation, or they can go on a work placement. And that's what we kind of expect most students will take the work placement option.
Yeah. Well, especially, I suppose, the fact that it's online, you could be working potentially, or is this a full-time program?
It's a full-time program, but interestingly, when we engaged with industry and graduates and students about the delivery, if they would support their employees through the program, for example, and many said they would, we asked, would they prefer delivery afternoons, evenings, weekends? And the majority went for afternoons. So I think businesses are getting really good now at being flexible with employees, particularly when they're looking to continue their education. So we will be running it as a full-time program, but I suppose the live contact hours online will be minimal, and a lot of it will be asynchronous that people can complete in their own time.
Well, that's fantastic because that allows anybody watching here tonight who is in full-time work to even consider this as an option now, because sometimes that can be the most distracting element of postgraduate study. I suppose the unique aspects of this program is the broad range, like we're talking strategy, enterprise innovation, and modules that
Mhm.
fit in with that. So, in terms of,
Mm.
I suppose, the flexibility, that online aspect as well, that's another unique aspect of the program. But who would this suit?
This will suit any student currently studying a business type program. And I think what's really unique about the program is there isn't really any similar offering in Ireland at all in terms of an online master's. And what you'll find is most masters in the innovation space are really targeted at people already working and people that are in kind of management roles, like our own executive education programs. Whereas this one is really suited for people just coming off their undergraduate program to advance, I suppose, their skill set around strategy, innovation, and enterprise.
Yeah, and I suppose anybody maybe from beyond the Donegal borders, really, given the fact that it's online, it opens LYIT up in a larger context.
It really does. And I mean, we've already had inquiries from people from all over the island about this program because it really doesn't matter now where someone's from. They can attend the program. So there's no
That's
requirement
right.
to come on campus. While we will welcome people to come and visit us, there's no requirement in terms of the program itself.
That's fantastic. And we're going to move on now to the area of fintech. I suppose the region in and around Letterkenny is kind of a strong reputation in the space of fintech. And I suppose it's not a massive surprise then that LYIT has a number of programs developed in this space.
Absolutely, Fiona. And the MSc in Innovation and FinTech was developed in partnership with those companies that you're referring to. Important to say that the MSc in Innovation and FinTech is targeted at people already working in FinTech. So you need to be in a FinTech role to be eligible to apply for this program. And the reason for that is all of the modules, all of the assessments are all based back on the work context. So this is a master's that is for people currently working in FinTech. And they can expect to cover things like FinTech, innovation, design thinking, financial services regs, culture, influencing. And like our other programs, they can then do a traditional dissertation or what most of them choose, a work-based learning research project, which is based entirely back on their own work context.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to that being able to do a research project that's around your own work makes it a bit
Mhm.
more, I suppose, doable for you as the learner coming on to this type of program. And you mentioned that they have to be working in fintech, but is there any other entry requirements at undergraduate level that a person would need?
Yes, they would also need to have a degree in a fintech related area or equivalent. So that
Okay.
encompasses a huge range of areas, Fiona. So we would treat applications on a case by case basis. And I suppose what the participants in this program really like is, again, delivery is very flexible to suit people in employment. And we use a lot of guest lecturers and industry experts to complement the module leads.
Yeah. And again, that it's an online program again, in terms of, or it's
It's
blended.
It's online, but we do have the option to run it blended. Again, we always wait and look at the profile of participants.
Yes.
The participants much preferred 100% online, even when we were allowed to come back on campus. So again, it just depends on the profile of the group, but it can be completely online. And it is funded by ICT SkillNet as well for anyone
Oh,
working in
fantastic.
fintech. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose going on right now, when you mention cost, when we're talking about the program, say the MA in accounting or the new master's program, and strategy, enterprise, and innovation, and also this MSc now in innovation fintech, what kind of funding, like, are we talking about, or cost is associated with these master's programs?
So the taught programs are, I think it's 5750 is the
Hmm.
the current fee for the master's programs, which actually is quite reasonable when you compare it with other
Yeah.
master's programs in the country. And our students, once they're registered, can apply then for scholarships from LYT. So LYT, over the last number of years, have also, I think it's Pushing Boundaries. That's the
Pushing
name of the,
boundaries. Yeah.
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 So people can apply.
Yeah.
I
So
think it's
pushing
a
boundaries.
€2,000 reduction
Bursary.
in fees.
So
That,
that's
yeah,
fantastic. So anybody watching this evening can be, I suppose, aware of that Pushing Boundary scholarship. And again, the fees are pretty competitive when you compare us to the other
extremely competitive.
universities across Ireland. Moving on then to the HDIP, the Higher Diploma in FinTech. This
Yeah.
program again, does it have a requirement that you have to be in the FinTech industry, or is it broader?
No, no. This is a great program for people who would like to move into the fintech space. So
Hmm.
this is what we would call a conversion program. So it's a level 8, but it's a higher diploma. So it's for people who already have a
Yeah.
degree, but they'd like to move into the fintech space. And it's 100% online, 1 year course that will give you the kind of knowledge, skills, and competencies to become a fintech professional. And the modules were chosen in conjunction with industry. And just to say, I suppose, Fiona, as you know, we're going through a large review in the Institute at the moment. So some of the modules that people will see on our website when they go and look for more information will be updated in the coming months. So, for example, the HDIP and FinTech will have a new module in blockchain and cloud technologies, which you won't see if you visit the website today because we're going through the process of
Yeah.
updating and revising our programs. But they'll also cover things like financial systems analysis, software engineering for fintech, debt, equity. So they get this really lovely hybrid skill set, and that's what
Mhm.
fintech employers want. Those people that understand the fin side of things, but they also can engage with the tech.
Yeah. And again, the fact that your programs are being designed really with industry in mind is, again, I suppose, showing that LYIT is able to adapt and be flexible with the programs
Mhm.
that we are developing. We're going to move now
Yeah.
and change it up just a gear in terms of the taught programs that are taught on campus. So we're talking about
Mhm.
the MSc in Market and Practice. Now, the MSc in
Mhm.
Market and Practice, can you give me a bit of an overview of this program, this
Yeah.
master's program?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing about the LYT Masters in Marketing Practice is it's really not just about the theory, but it's really about the application and practice of marketing ideas. So, as I just mentioned, we're going through a big review of this program, and there will be really exciting modules coming on the stream from September. You won't see this on our website yet, but it will be there in the next few months. So, things like data analytics, omni-channel marketing, advanced digital marketing, consumer behavior, and I suppose we believe that these modules really are at the forefront of modern marketing. So we're very excited about the new version of the program that will run from September. And again, students can finish off their masters by doing a traditional dissertation or work placement.
Okay. And in terms of entry requirements to get into the master's in marketing program, what would
Yeah.
they be?
So, so you would need to have an honours degree in business or commerce or equivalent with at least 30 credits of marketing studied at undergraduate level. So it's quite
Okay.
open, quite flexible.
And the unique aspects being that placement, but also then programs that are based around modern marketers and the demands that are there for modern marketers.
I think so. That
Yeah.
really is what it is. And just to say, we and many heads of department would be approached regularly by companies looking for students to do their placement with them. But marketing is by far the number one type of student that companies are looking for from us.
And it's high demand. And moving in now to an undergraduate program, this is an exceptionally popular program, the Bachelor of Business, the lifelong learning part-time honours degree. Can you tell
Mhm.
me a bit about this program and what does someone need to get into the program in terms of entry requirements?
Well, the great news is that this program is open to anyone over 21 by the 1st of January of the year they'd like to start if they have a leaving certificate, or if you're over 23 by the 1st of January of the proposed year of entry, you're eligible. So there's
Okay.
no real requirement other than, a particular age.
Okay. Well, that's good to know because that allows people who maybe have been out of education for a while, who are thinking about returning to education and they're looking at a part-time degree, then they
Yeah.
will be able to, I suppose, look at LYIT's Bachelor of Business program as that kind of flexible option. Is it online or on campus? Is there a mixture there?
Yeah, so this program, Fiona, was designed for mature learners. So it really was written for people who may not have had the opportunity to go to college when they left school. And it's designed for people who want to get back to education. It's delivered in a flexible way in that the students only need to be on campus one evening per week, and the other
That's good.
evening is delivered now fully online, because we would have a lot of people that would have travelled for a couple of hours to come to us, and they really like having this blend. And it also still allows them, to meet with their classmates, to meet their lecturer, go for coffee, so they get a nice mix. So
Yeah.
I suppose for a part-time honours degree in business, to be able to achieve that in 3 to 3.5 years is exceptional, really.
Yeah.
And they can expect to cover all of the kind of core business subjects like marketing, management, accounting, supply chain management, strategy, leadership, a whole range of subjects.
Yeah, and that broadness of the degree too means many graduate opportunities, I suppose, too, Patricia. Patricia, there's a quick question that's come in live here, asking what courses are available as a follow-on if you're doing the Bachelor of Business lifelong learning degree. And I suppose we have touched on some of those master's programs.
Yeah. So if you are currently doing the part-time business degree, then you are eligible to apply for our new Masters in Strategy, Innovation and Enterprise, and you're eligible to apply for our Masters in Marketing Practice and for our HDIP in Fintech. So I should say, and this is a good opportunity now, that there's a huge range of reasons why people come onto the part-time business degree. Many of the participants are actually working, and
Yeah.
they're doing the degree to try and progress further in their careers. Other people are doing the degree to try and change career. And then
Hmm.
we've people that are doing the degree for their own personal development. And actually, from this degree program in the last few years, we've had a few students progress on and complete masters by research programs, which has
Wow.
just been fantastic. And one of them is
Yeah,
now a part-time lecturer in the Faculty of Business.
it's fantastic.
Another has gone on and done our executive masters in innovation and leadership. So great opportunities for people.
Yeah. And again, that ability to ladder up almost and keep adding as you go from that
Yeah,
undergraduate degree.
fantastic.
Patricia, I
Yeah.
could chat to you all night, and I'm conscious of time because this is a session on the Faculty of Business, and I'm moving along
Mhm.
very quickly in the next few minutes to Nulloch. But one thing I want to, I suppose, ask you as a wrap up, what sets the Department of Business Studies part-time postgraduate programs apart, or your department apart, if someone was thinking and considering postgrad or part-time education now in September time?
Uh, Fiona, I think really it's the strong lecturer-student relationship. It's something that is often commented on by our graduates. And I think even more so when we've had graduates who've left us and gone to another higher education institution, they come back then and say to us, wow, I only realise now, the opportunities I had, how open the lectures and how available the lectures were. And I suppose the other thing, the Department of Business Studies has such a range of programs, and our lecturers are so widely skilled that we've level 7 up to level 10. We've our CAO, or part-time, or postgrad, or online, or executive ed. So a huge range and mix of programs.
Yeah, so it's a little something for everybody, really, Patricia, in terms of that broadness. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And now we're going to be moving on to Nulla Crombie. So, Nulla, you're very welcome. Oh, no, we don't have Nulla yet. We actually have Nicola Dunyan. So we're moving to Nicola. Nicola, how are you
How are
doing?
you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You're very welcome tonight. Nicola, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, no problem. I'm Nicola Dunyan and I'm head of Department of Tourism and Sport. So straddling two campuses, both the Letterkenny and Killybegs campus.
Well, you're very welcome. So you are, Nicola, tonight. So, Nicola, can you just start us off and give us a bit of context in relation to your department?
Yeah, no problem. I suppose there's two very specific fields, and I suppose sport and tourism do go hand in hand, but in terms of the programs, it's very clear cut. The tourism programs are offered here out of Killybegs campus, and we've a heritage here for over 50 years. And the sports courses are offered out of our, top of the range sports performance labs in the Letterkenny campus.
Okay, and tonight we're going to start off with the programs that are available in your tourism campus, and we're going to start off with some of the part-time. So, can you tell me
Yeah.
about the certificate in regional guiding? I know it's currently, am I right, recruiting as well as recruiting now in September?
That's correct, Fiona. This is an ever evolving one, and it's always a popular one for us. We just
Mhm.
have about 17 people that have went through a render of the program and are out in market now, trying to seek employment. So it's an ever popular one, and it's always one that industry are predominantly asking for. So I suppose anybody that's listening here today, we all know those individuals that are just very interested in their environs, interest in history and what's going on in an area, etc. This is the type of program that would be suited to that type of individual. We've had everything from people from coach providers, who are every day transporting people around, to people that just generally have an interest in this and might like to pursue it for a degree. So a really interesting course for somebody that might want to explore that particular area.
And the cost of the program, Nicola, in terms of the certificate in regional guiding?
Yes, it's 950 euro, Fiona, but perhaps some of the reason for that in terms of a fee is because, first of all, the students from this program will get qualified guiding badges. And then in addition to that, we give them the first aid training as part of the program. So there's a few bolt-on there that would maybe
Yeah.
raise the fee in the context of this
Yeah.
program.
But again, that transferability of the program, I suppose, similar to what Patricia was saying about that, being able to bring it into industry is a massive selling point.
That's it. Like, it doesn't matter if you're working in the outdoors, if you're working within the hospitality sector, this program would really stand to you, or even just if you're just a person looking for, a program and you don't know what it is, it's a very interesting one for an individual to
Yeah.
do.
And then moving in then to the area of social media and web performance for the tourism sector, I suppose no time like now to be, I suppose, developing your social media skills in terms of, I suppose, boosting your own tourism company. And can you tell me a bit about this program? It's a certificate as well, similar to your regional guiding. Is it recruiting now or is it recruiting for
Yes.
September?
Yes. So I suppose just to start off, Fiona, by saying that never has there been more, of an interesting time in this sector. We've all heard for the last year and a half how the tourism and hospitality sector have suffered. But I suppose through that suffering, there will be opportunities for people. And I believe this kind of program presents that, because if you think of holidaying or wanting to pick a destination, the first thing you'll do is go on the web. So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right, Fiona. This particular program received springboard funding in September 2021, but due to the success of the recruitment onto that program, we were afforded another render of the program, which will now commence in March, of 2022. So we're heavily recruited at the moment, and to be honest, we've quite a number of applicants already that have applied. The cost, in my eyes, is very affordable. So if you're in employment, it's 220 euro. But for those not in employment, the cost is €0.
Yeah,
And it
that's a
is
big
a
draw.
100% online program.
That's fantastic, Nicola. And again, do you have to be working in the tourism industry in order to be able to do this certificate?
No, you don't have to be. So Patricia alluded earlier there to, programs being suited to people that are working in this sector or maybe thinking of changing. That is
Mhm.
actually, like, I have applications on file for people that perhaps find themselves not in even employment at the moment. So it's
Yeah.
very much one of those type of upskilling, programs that might open people's eyes. And I suppose because of the two-pronged effect, you've kind of got social media on one hand, and then you've web performance and analytics on the other.
Yeah. And in terms of both of these programs now, given that they're recruiting over the next little while, if somebody wanted to find out more, they can contact you directly. Is that correct?
They can, I suppose, go to our website. Both of these programs are advertised on our website, and my name and email address is there on the specific web pages.
Fantastic. Moving in now to the culinary space, I suppose, given that you mentioned at the beginning of this, it's two campuses, you're based in Killybegs as well as the Letterkenny campus with the element of sport. Let's go back to, I suppose, to the root and branch of the activities that happen in Killybegs, culinary. So let's talk about the certificate in culinary skills. Can you tell me a
Yeah.
bit about it?
This is an ever popular program with ourselves, so it's a 1 year certificate. Very often it represents a stepping stone for people in terms of their chefing career. So they come to us on this program and then they catapult into maybe our year 2 and then go on to the year 3 of our ordinary degree. But for others, the certificate in culinary skills is enough. So for example, somebody that might be working a deli or a food counter, this particular certificate in its own right might fulfill a person's requirement. Generally, Fiona, this programme does receive springboard approval, but as all my colleagues would echo, you don't know from 1 year to the next what we're going to get the funding for. But notoriously over the years, this particular programme has been very fruitful from a springboard funding perspective. And if we do get the funding, that means €0 fees. There's no fees attached to the course.
It's fantastic. And again, for those watching, you don't have to be working currently within the culinary environment. This is open to anybody. And as you mentioned, the course fee is covered under Springboard, whether you're working or not working. Is that correct?
That's correct. I suppose it's a part-time programme, so our certificate in culinary skills would be an on-campus course.
Okay.
So it depends on how many groups we have, but it's 2 days a week, and generally that will either be a Monday and Tuesday or a Wednesday and Thursday. So at the moment we've a group in here on a Monday and a Tuesday.
Okay, and we're going to move now towards a new program, the Higher Diploma in Food Product Innovation and Enterprise. In terms of this program, the program is a higher diploma at the level 8 standard. So someone coming into this program would need to have some level of undergraduate background, or what way does it work in terms of entry?
Yeah, the entry requirements for this program is a level 8. But if, I suppose, people have experience in this area, we can look at putting them through the recognition of prior learning process. And so we're currently recruiting for this program, so we've 1 or 2 students at the moment that are looking at that stage of the process.
That's fantastic. And I suppose highlighting RPL as a pathway or route way to entry is important this evening when there's people watching here across our LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and also our Zoom platforms as well. Unique aspects of the HDIP in Food Product Innovation and Enterprise, Nicola, what are they?
Well, if I actually had a food idea, I'd love to do this program myself. So for me, the main USP of it is it brings an ideation or food idea for somebody from idea stage right through to prototype development and everything in between, from branding, labeling, marketing, food hygiene, etc. So it really brings an entrepreneur through a journey. And even queries I'd received, it was from businesses that maybe already are in existence, but never sat down and actually properly thought through their business. It just kind of happened organically. Yeah. Again, this is the type of program that would suit them.
And in terms of the program delivery, is it online or is it on campus? What way is it delivered?
Wholly online. So like Patricia alluded to earlier with some of her programs, this particular program we see as potentially being, somebody that perhaps even is a business owner that wouldn't have the time to physically get to Killybegs. So this is an online program. So it's a national rollout.
So we're changing it up now and we're moving you over to the Letterkenny campus and we're going to talk about some sport. In terms of programme opportunities, you've got the Postgraduate Certificate in Professional Skills for High Performance Sport. Can you tell me a bit about this programme? Yes,
I know, and it is a long title, but I suppose, again, sport as an area has really been growing over the years within LYIT, and it's very much a flag that we're proud to be holding up. Our quality of our staff is phenomenal, even in terms of their own involvement in sport. So this particular postgraduate certificate, it is a level 9, so it's suited to people that maybe have a level 8 degree in either sport or a relevant degree. Or in addition to that, if somebody is working in the field with a different type of degree, they may be suitable for the programme. So the purpose of it is a totally online program. It's 12 weeks, so it's a very kind of quick blitz type program. And the main target market for the program is the likes of sports coaches, practitioners, managers, leaders who are just looking maybe for a bit of professional development, in the area of high performance sport. So we've all seen even amateur sport in the last number of years, how professionalized they've become as an identity. So if there's an individual out there that finds finds themselves in that type of sphere and would like to progress, this is the type of short course that might work for them.
That's fantastic. So 12 weeks available online, intaken right now in terms of January.
That's
So,
right.
and in terms of the cost of the course, Nicola, what is
It's
the course fee?
1,280, Fiona, 1,280.
Okay. And in terms of then the postgraduate certificate in sports performance innovation, it too is recruiting now in January. And what sets it apart?
I suppose the difference in it versus maybe the other one is if you look at the title kind of sports performance innovation, it's predominantly looking at, how do you, like in the current sphere of sport and world, how do you deliver and manage innovation in sports performance? Because even with the, I suppose, technology now, things are ever evolving, between the technology and the engineering that's going behind sports performance. So that's really about trying to expose the participants to that area and maybe to whet their appetite around what's out there and what's maybe coming down the line in terms of the sports sector.
And is it online and is it that 12-week period as well?
Same model as the other programme and the same cost, 1,280.
Perfect. Moving in now to the September intake programs, and we're going to talk about the new MSc in Sports Performance Practice. It's a master's program, level 9. Can you talk a bit about that program?
Of course, yeah. So we're actually on our second year of that program. So this will be recruiting for the third version of, third year of this program. Again, this is a level 9, so it is a master's program. You'll be covering areas such as sports nutrition, physiology of sports and exercise, strength and conditioning, sports performance analysis. So very meaty topics. I suppose even people that maybe are just semi-interested in sport would understand that that's the kind of topics that are very relevant to the sporting world of today. Anybody with a level 8 or an equivalent qualification can apply for this program, or anybody that doesn't have a sports degree but maybe has significant work experience in a related sport industry can also apply for this program. So this program, Fiona, is a mixture of both online delivery, and then they are brought per semester for 3 block sessions on our Letterkenny campus.
Okay, so again, flexible for anybody maybe who has commitments outside of the classroom, or in terms of work or family life. One thing I would, I suppose, highlight in relation to, I suppose, scholarships again on this. Patricia mentioned the Pushing Boundaries, and that Pushing Boundaries scholarship goes towards, and you may be eligible for it across all the programs we're going to talk about tonight at postgraduate level. But there is the GPA scholarships as well, and I know some of the students who are on the MSc in Sports Performance Practice would have received a scholarship. Is that right?
That's correct. And I suppose what we do find, but it's not like, as I suppose, part of the spec or, it must be a must, but we find that sports people or who are even actively, playing with teams, etc., are on this program. So as you correctly pointed out, they're receiving sports scholarships with ourselves as well.
Yeah, so that's important to highlight that coming into LYIT, there are other scholarships available for people that they're thinking about in terms of funding, if they're worried about funding elements in terms of coming into a postgraduate program. The program fees for the MSc in Sports Performance Practice, what are they, or in and around?
So it's the 5,750, like Patricia would have mentioned, for her master's, and I would just echo what Patricia said. It's a fantastic fee in the context of level 9 provision in the country.
That's fantastic. And then moving into the diploma in physical education studies. So can you tell me what level is the diploma in physical education studies at?
So basically the purpose of our diploma in physical education studies are for people that maybe graduated from, another sports degree, but perhaps they didn't gain the accreditation in the PE modules. So it is a 60 credit program, Fiona, and it is a level 7, but they do very specific modules, I should say, that allow them to get teaching council recognition to become a PE teacher if they subsequently go on to do a requisite master's degree. So I suppose that's an important caveat to put out there. You know, when people do this, it's not that they're a PE teacher at the end of it, but it's definitely a good stepping stone onto the
Yeah.
last hurdle.
Yeah. And so people that maybe have come from the background that are looking for those extra, I suppose, credits or modules to progress on would be interested in this program, the Diploma in Physical Education Studies. Cost
Yeah.
around that program, and Nicola, and the
It's
commitment, you said 60 credits.
Yeah, it is €2,000. And funny, we do get quite a lot of emails about this program. And I suppose the one thing about it is the people that complete this diploma in PE studies are kind of doing it by day with our full-time BA in sports and science. So they're completing the modules with them. So like just for example, today I got an email from a lady in Dublin. So it wasn't going to suit that particular individual. Notoriously, their timetable for a day or two a week, and it's only for an academic term. So I suppose the person that wants to do this needs to be committed to be able to, willingly give up the time by day. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a 4 or 5 day week program.
It's fantastic. Nicola, there was a question in there about is there work placement in any of the postgraduate programs? If so, can we do a placement in our own sports company if we choose one of the programs?
Absolutely, there is. So in the let's just use the masters as our example, the sports masters. There is a work placement project which absolutely people could use in the context of the work environment they're in. So we can work with both scenarios. Obviously, if somebody isn't, our academic supervisor would work with that individual. But absolutely, if you're in that sphere, you can use your employer.
That's fantastic. And again, it goes back to what Patricia was saying earlier about that kind of relating to industry, a lot of these programs. And it's great to see interest from people who maybe are in industry to think about this postgraduate opportunities that are available in the Department of Tourism Sport. If I was to wrap up with you now, could you tell me, I suppose, why someone would pick your department in these master's, postgraduate and part-time programs over programs available elsewhere?
Yeah, well, Patricia stole my answer, but I would echo what she said. But in addition to that, for me, I suppose you probably might have garnered, it's quite niche, sports and tourism. And another, so as well as that, what Patricia would have mentioned, that student to lecturer relationship, the other bolt on I would add is our facilities. We're constantly investing. So here in Killybegs, we have top of the range kitchens. Over in Letterkenny, our sports labs we're constantly investing, and very often some of the technology we have in there, we're the first in Ireland to obtain it. So for me, I suppose that shows our passion and our intent around those two particular areas.
It's fantastic. And again, always keeping up, changing and evolving. And I suppose these programs, a lot of which have been developed very recently and have adapted some of them to suit the needs. Thanks so much, Nicola, for joining me. And now we're going to be joined by Nullag Crombie. And Nullag, you're welcome. We nearly had you on earlier, Nullag, but we saved you a little bit for later. So you're welcome, Nullag Crombie. Can you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are?
Thank you very much, Fiona. I'm delighted to be here. So my name is Nullag Crombie. I'm the Head of Design and Creative Media here at LYIT.
Fantastic, Nullag. So in terms of your program offering, Nullag, you have a mixture of part-time and postgraduate program, but we're going to start off with your program in applied innovation and UX design. Can you tell me a bit about it?
Yes, we have a postgraduate in user experience and innovation, both at postgrad level and masters. It's a 1 day per week, 100% online masters. You can do the masters in a year, which is very appealing. Just as of this year's cohort is the first cohort which is entirely online. And I think it's been working really well. We have internationally renowned guest speakers. And of course, the reach is greater once we go online. So that means our guest speakers are fantastic. We have modules in user experience design, UI design, consumer behavior and digital markets, innovation and new product development, personal development, and emerging technologies.
Okay, so it's a real mixture of modules in terms of the program. You mentioned online, the fact that
Mhm.
it's a flexible program. Say, for instance, if someone was a little bit, I suppose, fearful of committing to a master's program, the postgraduate option is almost like the first step, is it, in terms of this program?
Yes, it is. So several students actually apply for the postgrad and then find themselves at Christmas deciding that they probably would have liked to have done the masters, and they're very welcome to do so. So the way it works, Fiona, is that you would start typically in September on the postgrad, for instance, and by the following May, you're completing the postgrad, but the master's students remain on for the summer period. And during that period, they take on their large project, which basically is the capstone. It's a 30 credit work-based learning project, and that completes their master's.
Okay. And I suppose similar to what Patricia might have mentioned earlier about the fact that it's online, that flexibility, that it opens it out beyond the Donegal borders, isn't
Mm.
that right? This program historically would have
Yeah.
had people from all over Ireland.
Yes, indeed. And we have very further afield participants this year. We have one of our students is in Brazil and another
Wow.
student in Malaysia, and
Wow.
thoroughly enjoying it. I know there can be time restrictions in terms of connectivity, but we're working our way around that. As I said, it's commitment to 1 day per week, which is face-to-face online, that goes out live, but then all of the material during the rest of the week is can be accessed at any time that suits the participant. So for our Brazilian and our Malaysian participants, they can access that in their own time.
That's fantastic. Well, tonight, actually, on our YouTube channel, we have quite an international contingent watching. So I suppose, in terms of the students connecting in with us tonight, they are, because of the flexibility of online, able to
Mm.
connect to our programs across all of our faculties and departments from anywhere in the world, given that they're online programs.
Sure. Yeah. And another aspect to our program this year is that we're going to trial an immersive experience starting within the next 2 weeks, whereby the emerging technologies module is going to be delivered with the use of the AR, the headsets.
Wow.
And that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But we're very
Yeah.
optimistic about it. The team are really interested
Again,
in doing that. And if it
again,
works well for,
yeah, so again,
sorry.
that's kind of going on with Nicola's theme about the cutting edge technologies in terms of delivery, Nollaig.
Yes, very much so.
That's amazing. A question has come in for you, Nollaig, about the postgrad MSc in UX design and applied innovation. Would you need to be working in this area in order to join the program? Or like what in terms of entry requirements, like what are we looking for here?
Not at all. In fact, we embrace people from all backgrounds. We have had people come in from a tech background, from management, design, obviously, because it's sort of a design-led type of program. But regardless of your background, we have managed to engage with anybody from any background. So no, you don't have to have a background in tech. We have had students, obviously, who've come through, let's say, a computing background or financial background, various backgrounds, and all have thoroughly enjoyed it. And also, Fiona, probably what is interesting within the program is that when students join us from different backgrounds, we manage to, form groups and discussion fora. And within those groups, they probably generate projects that are, encompassing of their own skills. So that has really been a positive as well through the years.
Yeah. And in terms of then fees, is the fee at master's level similar to the fees mentioned today? So around that 5750?
That's correct, 5750 for EU, and for our international audience out there, further afield, it's 10,000.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that. Now, look, and now moving into the area, another online course. It's the Postgrad Certificate in 3D for Emerging Technologies. Can you tell me a bit about this program?
Yeah, this is really exciting. I mean, we love it, and I suppose it's a very visual type of piece of program. This is where students are invited to look at the processes involved in making 3D objects for various platforms. For games, for VR, for AR, special effects, 3D animation, all of those very exciting sort of areas. And we have managed, to attract people from animation, obviously. I guess there is a requirement that students would have some level of visual skill or interest in producing content that will be on a platform where they're manipulating 3D objects.
Mhm. And in terms of the program entry requirements for this postgrad, is there a specific area that you need to have studied at undergraduate level?
Well, we would advise anybody coming on for their own enjoyment that they should have a background in, the arts, a creative aspect. Computing, also, computing students have managed it very well. But a level 8 in a sort of somewhat related area, I would advise,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
otherwise they
And
won't have the same interest.
yeah, so again a building block really from that in terms of that background in the area of the arts design
Yeah.
space.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, and just in terms of then your current full-time programs, no, look, I know that in your department there have been many occasions where your full-time programs have been taken part-time, and just for anybody watching this evening to know that I suppose at undergraduate level you have fashion with promotion, you have graphic and digital design, you have digital film and video, and you also have animation. So can you give me one or two examples about how people have been taking programs on a part-time basis that are generally full-time?
Yeah, sure, Fiona. Well, I suppose at LYIT, as the previous speakers have already mentioned, we do embrace a really strong community of student and staff. And when our students leave, in fact, they very often stay in touch with us for many years afterwards. And what I have found is that sometimes students, just through life experiences, they may have had difficulties at some point within their program when they had started. They can't complete it. They need to opt out for a little while. They might come back several years later. And we have one or two students in that particular frame at the moment who come back and choose to take, maybe because they are now with a family or they're caring for somebody, they can't take the full-time program, but they would like to take maybe one or two modules within the year. And we encourage them to do so. So we can map out for them what their best planning would be and which modules might work best together and so on. So I have one or two students at the moment who are taking 2 modules each year, and they will obviously, it'll take them longer to complete their program, but they're very welcome to do it in a part-time mode like that.
Yeah, and that's, I suppose, an option across a lot of the programs available at LYT to be able to do the full time on a part time, maybe having previously studied before and then looking to come back. You have a number of current, like, I suppose, short courses. We're just going to touch on them briefly. You have basic web design and development, you have fashion fundamentals, digital photography, and then life drawing. And those programs generally would be recruiting for September. Is that correct?
Yes, they would. Now, obviously, the pandemic stood in the way of some of these programs going ahead last year, but no, we would hope that by September we will be back on track.
Yeah, and they're on campus delivery. No, look, for anybody watching, isn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so on site at LYIT on our Letterkenny campus. So you're exploring new areas in terms of the Department of Design and Creative Media. Just briefly going to touch on some of these areas. So you're looking at areas including lifestyle, retail, and digital marketing. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that will be 100% online, Fiona. That's a level
Okay,
7 diploma.
level 7. And who would that suit, Nolag, in terms of delivery, in terms of the program? Is it someone coming from that background or?
Yes, it would. It probably appeal to people who are in retail at the moment or would like to know a little bit more about how they would enter the area of digital marketing with an understanding of the sort of retail lifestyle space. I guess where we're looking at this, we have 2 areas within our department. One which is fashion and promotion, and that is a very strong design aspect, obviously. The other is retail, which doesn't have very much design, but the 2 come together in this particular program, and that's what we were aiming for. We wanted to merge both and see what it might attract. So yeah, we're hopeful about that, and we've got other areas then that we're pursuing at the moment. We've got music technology, video editing, short film production, sound recording and editing, special effects and film, games design, design for AR and VR, lots of different things in the graphics area, brand communication strategy. So we're constantly looking at where we can offer short programs that might appeal to people who don't have a lot of time, but would like to do something in a short space of time with credits attached.
Yeah, and we're looking at these areas and exploring these areas for September 2022, isn't that correct, in that space?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
So if anybody I suppose if you get a chance to come to the campus and visit LYIT, one of the amazing things that we have in terms of facilities are design facilities, from our photography studio to our design and creative media suite, right the way from our animation studios to our fashion lab. So if you ever want to visit our campuses, whether it be the Killybegs or Letterkenny campuses, you can do that by going to our campus booking form on our website. But if there was, I suppose, anything you could highlight now tonight, what makes you stand out, what would it be in terms of Department of Design and Creative Media versus other places?
Oh, well, I like to think, again, it's the team. It's the staff are just amazing and so welcoming of everybody. And this is why the students come back to us year on year, and they keep in touch with us as really strong friends. And you'll see my pull up here beside me. It's the DICE pop-up banner. We have a DICE conference every year, and we attract our students, our alumni back year on year to participate in that. So that proves that we do have a fantastic community here at LYIT.
Yeah, and I think again, going back to that side of things about the community, the sense of community, I think we have a number of stories have gone out now as we approach the CAO deadline this week, and the theme of that is from the students or the graduates who've come through LYT is that sense of community, the relationship with lecturers, that you're not invisible and that you're part of something different. So, no, look, thank you so much for joining me this evening, and we're going to move now towards all things law, public service, and education, and we're going to be joined by Siobhan Cullen, the head of Department of Law, Public Service and Education. So you're very welcome, Siobhan.
Good evening, Fiona. I'm delighted to be here, although my colleagues have provided a very hard act to follow.
And there's quite a lot of content to get through in terms of your department, so I'm keen that we don't want to miss anything or leave anything out. So let's get straight into it, and let's talk about the Master of Arts in Learning and Teaching, or known locally as MALT at LYIT. So can you talk to me a bit about the programme, the Master of Arts in Learning and Teaching?
Indeed, Fiona. So there are two master's programs in the department, and MALT is the longest standing one. And you'll note it is an MA in Learning and Teaching, not in Teaching and Learning. So one of the first programs of its kind nationally, and now in its fifth iteration. So there's a lot of graduates out there in the local community from this program, and it's a program that we're very proud of.
And entry requirements for the programme, Siobhan, what does someone need to be able to join the programme?
So, Fiona, it's important to note that this programme is aimed at people currently working as educators, so teaching or training roles. So it's for teachers, whether they're in the primary sector, the secondary sector, or third level, further education, or early childhood education, people in existing teaching roles. So it's not a teaching qualification. It's not a course that you would do to become a teacher, but if you're in an existing teaching role. So the entry requirement would be a level 8 honours degree and to be in a role. And I suppose that's important to note because there's a strong experiential learning ethos within the programme.
In terms of delivery, Siobhan, is it block delivery? Is it delivered online? What way is the programme delivered?
Well, interestingly, it's always been delivered on a blended basis, Fiona, and it would have been a combination of online classes and then weekend classes on campus. So traditionally, it would have been Friday evenings and Saturdays, and there would have been one of those weekends approximately every month. And that was really designed to suit the needs of teachers around their availability. And of course, like many other programs during the pandemic, we pivoted to a wholly online delivery, which worked very well. And at the moment, we're going through that review process that's been mentioned by my colleagues earlier in terms of redesigning the program. And we've made some changes to MALT. So we've actually reduced the face-to-face on-campus delivery, but we've kept some of it in because it was felt important that learners are able to develop that community of practice by meeting each other on campus some of the time because of the program. So we're going to have one Saturday each semester where learning on campus. We are exploring the possibility of being able to stream that to really couldn't travel to Donegal for that on-campus class, but fundamentally we would like learners to come on campus for one Saturday each semester, and the rest of the delivery will be online.
Yeah, so pretty flexible too for people who are juggling multiple things in their life, whether it's their career as well as family commitments. And in terms of, I suppose, the flexibility of the program, being able to do it in a hybrid way is really, really important now. In terms of then, I suppose, career prospects, opportunity, would this suit somebody who maybe is looking to progress their career in education?
Absolutely, Fiona. So it tends to be teachers and educators who are interested in perhaps exploring a leadership role. Some of the modules include student-centered learning and teaching and assessment, enhancing learning through digital technologies, and some of the more recent modules that we've introduced include universal learning for learning. So that's all about flexibility in our approach to our teaching and assessment, and equality, diversity and inclusion. But there's a strong interest in the leadership module, always has been. That's one of the elective modules that is the most popular. And so it tends to be teachers and educators who want to enhance their professional development, may be interested in leadership role, or may be interested in just enhancing their teaching practice.
Okay. And in terms of cost for this program, and before we move on to the next program, what is the cost associated with MALT?
So the full cost is €5,800, and it can be paid in 2 instalments because this program is delivered over years, part-time, Fiona. So there is the option there to pay half of the fees in each year. And I should also say that each of the modules in this program are validated as a minor award in their own right. So we do have some learners coming on just to do the one that's coming up next is a certificate in RPL. And I know that was mentioned in the earlier discussion. So there's a lot of need in education at the moment for an awareness of RPL. So we're currently recruiting for that. And as a minor award, the cost would be €500 and would acquire a level 9 certificate in that case, RPL.
Okay, so that's a certificate in RPL, currently recruiting for that program, and the cost associated with that is in around €500 for anybody that's watching this evening. In terms of then another program that you offer, that Master of Arts in Governance, Compliance and Data Protection in Financial Services, can you tell me a bit about this program?
Yes, Fiona. Well, that's quite a long title, and it's a hybrid course in the sense that it's a postgraduate diploma or a master's. And I described earlier very well the process of progressing from a postgraduate diploma to a master's by undertaking that large research project. And it's a hybrid program in the sense that it combines the legal, the science, and the governance and IT needs of financial services. So it's a combination of the law and regulatory environment and the IT environment and information security, as well as some of the financial services and business aspects.
And again, cost in relation to this program, the MA in Governance Compliance, and then the flexibility, is it online?
Yeah, so interestingly, that's also evolved. Just to deal with cost first, it's €5,800 for the full master's program. We do hope to acquire Springboard funding, which we have had in the past for this program, and I know some colleagues have discussed that earlier. It was previously delivered on campus. We pivoted to a full online delivery, and that seems to be working really well. So the current cohort of students are really from all over the country. We have students from Dublin and further afield. And so we are going to stick to the online delivery, Fiona, going forward. And we're also using something that's quite unique to the Faculty of Business, which is the Commuter Model, which is where we have a combination of some live online classes one evening a week. We also have an online virtual summit for each module. So every 2 or 3 weeks, the learners would have a full day on, mainly with guest speakers, some industry guest speakers coming into that virtual online summit, and the assessments then all take place online. The work-based learning research project being the capstone module that learners undertake in their own workplace. So most of our current learners are working full-time in the industry and are undertaking this program online, as I've described there. So that's the model that we're going to stick to. It seems to be working for learners.
Okay, so we're running about a couple of 3 to 4 minutes behind here, folks, those that are watching online, and we're soon going to be joined by Thomas, Dr. Patty Hannigan, and also Anne Boner in the area of faculty and engineering and technology. But when I have you just, Siobhan, in relation to the program of governance and compliance and data protection and financial services, can you tell me just quickly about, suppose, some of the past grads and what they've gone on to?
Yeah, so absolutely. And I think, as some colleagues said there, one of the great things about LYIT is the relationship that we develop with our alumni, and they keep in touch. And just yesterday, I had several telephone conversations with alumni from this very program. One in particular who said that he'd been, I think he said, in 7 different European countries in his new consultancy role since he graduated. Wow. Another graduate that I spoke to really recently had gone from working in retail management to now being a compliance manager. It's really acted as a bridge for many of our graduates into the financial services industry. And there are some really interesting stories, some of which are on our website, actually, some of our graduate testimonials.
It's important to highlight that too, folks. Any of the programs that we've talked about tonight are available if you go to lyit.ie, click on part-time, click on postgraduate, you'll find all of the programs. So we're going to quickly touch on now the Diploma in HRM and Employment Law. Who would this program be suitable for? And can you tell me some information about HRM and Employment Law at LYIT?
Yeah, so this program is aimed at both private and public sector workers, people who are maybe small business owners, people who are working in management or supervisory roles, and people who are working in human resource. Our research when we were designing the program really told a lot of people are working in HR roles who didn't necessarily have a HR qualification. So this program is really designed to allow people working in those roles to gain a qualification in the area.
And what level is the diploma, Siobhan, as well? What level?
So it's a level 7 diploma, Fiona. It's delivered part-time over 2 years. Again, we pivoted to online delivery, and that seems to be working very well. We've delivered the live classes online in the evenings, and the fee is €2,000, and we're currently awaiting CIPD accreditation, which is pending, and we hope to have an outcome next week. So the students that we're currently recruiting are being informed of that, and we'll keep everybody up to date. But that will be a fantastic addition to the program.
Absolutely. And moving in then to the certificate in online dispute management, and then we're going to wrap up on the certificate in children's rights. But can you tell me a little bit about the certificate in online dispute management skills?
Yes, Fiona. So this program was very much inspired by the move to online and remote working during the pandemic, something that I think everybody is all too well aware of, and something that is going to stay with us in some regards. So it's aimed at people who are managing teams online, people who are in conflict resolution roles, which suddenly pivoted to the online, and whether that be negotiation, mediation, arbitration, and also courtroom hearings themselves pivoted to online. And some of those, not the ones involving witnesses, the courthouses are back running as normal in that regard, but many of the hearings that are requiring legal submissions only are going to stay online. And so this program is really designed to enable people to develop the skills, both through using the digital platforms and through the use of role play and reflection, the skills to work in online youth management. So it's a level 7 certificate program, Fiona.
Fantastic. And then the certificate in children's rights. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the certificate in children's rights is really aimed at the many, many people out there who are working in child protection roles. Many of these are on a voluntary basis, so they might be working for voluntary or sporting organisations, they might be working for community organisations, or this may indeed be part of their professional identity and their role. So it's a level 7 certificate in children's rights with an emphasis on child protection and on youth justice. And the broad spectrum of children's rights. And like many of our programs, Fiona, it's delivered by practitioners. It's been designed in partnership with our industry partners and is being delivered by practitioners and with industry guest speakers. So it's very industry focused.
And I think that's really the running theme of all of tonight's session so far in the Faculty of Business, is that delivered in partnership with industry. One question has come in here now before we wrap up with you, Siobhan, is do you need to be a teacher to progress to take the MALT, the Masters of Arts in Learning and Teaching? And I think you answered that earlier about having to work.
Yeah, you need to be in a teaching or training role, Fiona. And I have to say, we've just, I suppose, broadened our thinking. It used to be that you had to be a teacher, and we've broadened that out to a training role because lots of people in their job roles are providing training. And the reason for that, just briefly, is because a big component of the course is reflecting on your practice. So designing interventions in your own teaching and reflecting on those. So you have to be in a relevant role, but we're happy to discuss. And I think, as all my colleagues have emphasised here this evening, we try to be as flexible as possible. So if somebody would like to ask about that, feel free to contact me and we can have a look at whether that might suit.
Fantastic, Siobhan. And just to wrap up with you, Siobhan, from your department's context, what sets the law, public service and education department apart from others?
I think it's our links with industry, Fiona. I mean, we've been delivering legal education for many years, and we've worked really closely with the legal profession, and the local legal profession has been really supportive in terms of providing work placements, developing our street law program, and all our programs involve industry guest speakers and have been designed in collaboration with industry, whether that's the teaching profession, whether it's the legal profession and the local Fintech industry in relation to that governance program. And the other thing that I've mentioned, I suppose, quite frequently there is the emphasis on experiential learning. So we don't just read about things, but we do a lot of role play, whether it's debates, presentations, we do mock trials, we do mock mediations, and there's quite a lot of reflection involved. So the experiential learning ethos, I think, is a really key feature of all our programs and one that we're very proud of.
That's fantastic. So I want to thank you. We might bring everybody on screen, Patricia, Nicola, Nulug, and also Siobhan. And I want to thank you for, I suppose, all of your insights tonight. We have touched on most of the questions that have come in, but for those questions that we didn't get to this evening, we'll be able to forward them on to Patricia, Nicola, and Nulug and Siobhan directly. I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're going to be moving now to the Faculty of Engineering and Technology, and we'll be back with you within the next 2 to 3 minutes here live and online on Zoom, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Thanks so much for watching. Mar Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's series of webinars featuring our part-time and postgraduate program. So we're now moving on to the Faculty of Engineering and Technology. In this area, we're going to be focusing on the Department of Computing, we're going to be focusing on the Department of Electronic and Mechanical Engineering, and we're going to be focusing on the Department of Civil Engineering and Construction. Now, we're running a little bit behind because we could talk all night here at Letterkenny IT, but we're going to be joined now by Thomas Dowling, the Head of Department of Computing, and we know quite a significant number of you that are watching us tonight are watching us not only from Ireland, but you're watching from abroad, because that international community at LYIT has got so strong here. And Thomas Dowling, Head of Department of Computing, is one of the departments that has welcomed many international students of late. So Thomas, you're welcome.
It's very nice to be here, Fiona. Thank you very much.
So thanks so much for taking your time out this evening to provide us with an insight into the part-time and postgraduate programs available in the department. So we're going to get straight into it because there's so much to cover, Thomas. So we're going to talk about, first of all, your Master of Science in DevOps. So can you tell me a bit about this program?
Yeah, so this is a really rapidly expanding area. So it's expanding everywhere. It's generally one of the most highly paid areas in computing, partly because there's a huge shortage of graduates. There's a tiny supply of graduates relative to the demand from companies. And it's all about the kind of philosophy combined with a set of procedures and practices for how you develop software in a really kind of fast, really agile way. So when you build a team to develop a software application, and you go through the process, you're learning more about the software, the customer is refining what their needs are, and it's to allow you to be really kind of flexible and adaptive, whereas in traditional software engineering projects, it was really difficult to change what you wanted to do once you'd started doing it. Mm-hmm. It kind of, some of your listeners will have kind of heard of Agile and that. And Agile, you know, it incorporates Agile, but it incorporates a whole range of other things as well. It's kind of an evolutionary step on from Agile. And as I say, just a huge shortage of graduates worldwide and in Ireland. Huge opportunities for people who study in this area.
And that's a running theme with a lot of the computing programs, is that the amount of vacancies in terms of employment opportunities across all areas. And one thing I want to ask you about, I suppose, the MSc in DevOps is the entry requirements. So what would someone need to have done at undergraduate level, Thomas?
Well, at the simplest level, an honours degree in computing with a 2-2. That's kind of your vanilla flavoured entry qualification. But basically, we're a lot more flexible than that. These days, things have improved a lot. So you can combine together qualifications that are kind of related to it. So a lot of people who would do it would say come in from electronics backgrounds. You can also apply based on kind of industry experience. And a lot of people apply based on a combination of kind of past qualifications and industry experience. So you might have a higher certificate from maybe 10 or 15 years ago. You know, a lot of people left college at that point and they've been working in the IT industry since then. Maybe they're looking to move sideways or move up. But even sometimes, you know, people will apply based on kind of qualifications that aren't necessarily that much related to computing, like kind of maths or physics. But they've been working in the computing industry. A lot of maths and physics graduates go into computing. It's probably the main employer for people from those backgrounds. And you know, you can combine together your qualifications. So the thing is, really, if you're in any doubt, send me your CV and we'll have a look at it, and I'll give you kind of pretty honest, candid advice about your eligibility.
And the program, the MSc in DevOps, is it online or is it on campus at Letterkenny IT?
We at the moment we're running it in both modes. We are run it a postgraduate diploma in DevOps under Springboard, which is an online course. Now that's subject to an annual tender, so I can't guarantee it'll run again next year, but we certainly hope it will, because we filled it this year and there was lots of demand. But we also run the course on campus. If you're an international student who's thinking of maybe coming to study in Ireland, or if you're living in the Northwest, and you can do that either full-time or part-time. So you can do
That's
it
fantastic.
part-time over 2 to 3 years, or you can do it full-time in 1 year. If you're an international student, you can do it in 1 calendar year, 12 months. And really, the employment situation in Ireland for international students is just fabulous. It's always been good, but since the pandemic started, there's just an absolutely critical shortage of skilled graduates.
Yeah. And in terms of then the program cost, what is the cost of the program, the Masters in DevOps? Yeah.
So if you're doing it through Springboard, it's very modest. It's really only about €600 to €700 because Springboard covers 90% of the cost of it. If you're unemployed, they'll cover 100% of the cost of it, but there isn't many unemployed IT graduates in Ireland. Well, maybe there's people returning to the workforce and things like that. If you're an international student, I think it's a little over €12,000. But again, the thing to do would be to contact the international office because there are some discounts available, which make the fees really very competitive by international standards. And of course, the
Yeah.
biggie for an international student is that you get to stay and work in Ireland for 2 years afterwards. You get an automatic work visa on successful completion of the course. That's for 2 years. It's not necessarily tied to any particular employer. It's very low kind of bureaucracy. It's a really, really straightforward process.
Fantastic.
And of course, at the end of it, you can extend it on and extend it on. There's really very few people, almost nobody has any problems in that respect, because I say it's a skills shortage area, and it is
That's
always a
fantastic.
critical skills shortage area.
Thomas, a question has come in. How would an international student apply to join these programs? So you mentioned earlier, contact the international office, but there is also a platform
Yeah.
non-EU.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of, if you have a look at our website, www.lyit.ie, you'll see a link on our website for international students. And if you contact them, doesn't matter if you're EU or non-EU, if depending on they'll redirect you to the right place anyway. And they have a kind of whole portal there for uploading your applications, for asking questions, for finding out information. They'll be able to provide you with brochures about the different courses, everything. It's a well worked through system. It's been up and running for a while, and it's a really clean, easy system to use.
Yeah, and then in terms of big data, we have the MSc in Big Data Analytics, and we have the MSc in Big Data Analytics and Artificial Intelligence. Can you tell me a little bit about both programs, please?
Yeah, so big data and AI, artificial intelligence, AI, tend to go very much together. People have been talking about artificial intelligence for the last 30 years. And for people like myself who've worked in the computing industry for a long time, they were starting to feel, well, nothing was ever going to happen in AI because the people have been promising and promising and promising and nothing was happening. But really, AI was waiting for big data, and big data was waiting for more storage capacity, more data, better tools to use. So if you go back 10 years ago, you really needed a doctorate in maths to work in big data, because it was really sort of, taking out the calculator, sitting down with the data and just plowing your way through it the hard way. These days, the tools for doing big data are much, much cleaner, much, much easier to use. I'm not saying that you don't need any maths. I mean, you do realistically to do big data and AI, but the level of maths need is nowhere close to what you used to need. An average computing graduate is perfectly capable of working. And again, it attracts some of the engineering people, the electronics people, the physics people, the mathematicians as well. It depends on how heavy you want to go into the maths versus how heavy you want to go into other aspects of big data. And so we started off with the MSc in Big Data about 7 or 8 years ago. That's been running since then. Very, very successful program. And about 3 years ago, I guess, recognizing the fact that big data was the engine behind artificial intelligence, we decided that it was logical to add more AI. We couldn't figure out kind of exactly how to do that. And eventually we hit on the bright idea of, well, let's take the data science parts of big data. Let's hold on to those and let's add the AI to it. So the two blend together really, really seamlessly. They're about equally popular. You know, we take in about 25 students a year onto each program. Very high demand. They tend to fill early. And there's lots of work because all these companies have been sitting on these huge volumes of data that they've spent the last 20 years collecting. And really, until a few years ago, in most cases, the companies were doing nothing with it. But there was a kind of an awareness in the companies that there was a lot of value in it. They just didn't know how to tap into that value. And then as the big data tools improved, more people were able to work in the field. There was this kind of realization that, yeah, you know, it's time now to start setting up projects, to start looking at this data, to start looking for the value and looking for the patterns. I mean, so much in life, in industry, is about patterns. You know, the patterns repeat. They don't necessarily repeat precisely, but if you can understand the factors that impact them, then you can project forward the kinds of things that are likely to happen in the future based on what's happened in the past and the things that have affected what's happened in the past. And then that feeds into artificial intelligence, because essentially artificial intelligence just takes it one step further and goes, okay, let's try and make somewhat intelligent predictions about what's happening in the future, and let's try to make somewhat intelligent or have a somewhat intelligent understanding of the data about what has happened in the past. So you're trying to move beyond simply the computer user kind of having to do all the figuring out for you.
And then data analytics and artificial intelligence, and I won't stumble while I'm saying that. Both of
Nice
the
one.
programs are, I suppose, online delivery as well, or is there like a hybrid model there too, similar to DevOps, in that there's the on-campus and also the online option?
No, we only run a postgraduate certificate in AI, in artificial intelligence online. For that, most of the courses are on campus. I'll be really
Okay.
honest with you and say it is incredibly difficult to hire lecturers who are expert in these areas. It's just so hard to
Wow.
get people. Companies are finding the same things. I would be delighted to run them online, but you know, we have a core team of about 8 lecturers who are highly knowledgeable and highly experienced in this field, and there's only so many kind of directions that I can pull that core team in. And of
And
course,
in
we run a
terms,
lot of research as well in that field, so
yeah,
that's
in addition to that, and a lot of the team would be very much involved in that space. So there's no end of career opportunities really, and graduate opportunities for the grads across all of the, I suppose, MSc programs, whether it's DevOps, big data and AI. One area that is very of the moment, and I suppose you can't really hide from cybersecurity, is our
mhm.
MSc in cybersecurity. This too is a program that's been at LYIT for a while, given that we probably were the leaders, would I be correct in saying that, having
Yes,
an MSc in this space?
yeah. Well, we were the second college in the country to run a degree in it, and I think we were the third college in the country to run a master's in it. Certainly, there was very few anyway who got in before us. Um, we have a kind of a strong track record in it. We run undergraduate degrees on campus and online. We run MSc programs on campus and online, and again, we do a lot of research in that space. Um, we've always known there was huge demand for computer security graduates, or cyber security graduates as they've tended to be known more recently. But particularly since we've seen those high profile hacks in America, and we've had the high profile hack here in the HSE, demand has really shot through the roof. I mean, you know, a lot of companies had started running cybersecurity projects. A lot of companies were still sitting on the fence, kind of going, well, you know, are we really in that much danger? And then the HSE hack happened, and the pipeline hack happened in America, and you've seen the stuff that happened in the Ukraine just last week about a lot of their sites being brought down. And suddenly the world has woken up to, wow, we really, really are exposed here, and there's huge costs associated with trying to recover from a hack. There's huge costs associated with trying to get users' data back if it's stolen and so on. And so 2 years ago, we would have had 25 cybersecurity students on an online postgraduate diploma in cybersecurity. This year we had 50 on an online postgraduate diploma in cybersecurity, and we had another 50 on an online BSc honours in cybersecurity. And we could probably have taken 50 onto our on-campus course as well, but we stopped at 25. We had to close the course. There's only so much space kind of.
And that's the demand again, I suppose, going back to that
Mhm.
area of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So again, multiple options there in terms of studying, whether it's
Mhm.
online or it's on campus in the
Yeah.
space. And again, career opportunities are endless because there's just, as you highlight, massive demand. And one area that's new in cyber for LYIT
Mhm.
and that's developing as we speak is the MSc in cyber psychology. And when is
Mhm.
the planned intake for this program, and what is cyber psychology?
Okay, so we have a degree that hopefully will go into the CAO under available places for September if we can get everything organized. And we also have a master's in it, which is available as an on-campus master's. Cyber psychology is a relatively new field, but it's really taken off in the last couple of years. There's a few courses in the UK in it. There's a course in Dunleary. It's the only other course in Ireland, and there's a number of courses in America. And it's around really looking hard at exactly how users use systems, the psychology of how to use computer systems, to really develop a deep understanding of that, and from that to design and build better computer interface systems. Now, that doesn't sound terribly exciting, but if you consider that Apple have a valuation of $3 trillion, I'm not sure if they're the most valuable company in the world, but if they're not, they're certainly in the top three. And basically, what is it that's different about Apple? Why do people pay 2, 3, 4 times more for an iPhone than they do for an Android phone? Just the fact that the interface is slightly better. And that is the selling point of Apple. So it's not an exaggeration, I think, to say that because Apple designed their products to be a little bit, not dramatically, just a little bit more usable, a little bit more intuitive than the products that their competitors produce, you're sitting there with a value of $3 trillion. And that tells you what good interface design is worth to a company. Again, for an insurance company, there's a lot of insurance companies out there. You fill in your insurance documentation online. If the app that you're using is clunky, if it's awkward, if you're wondering what to put into the next box, well, there's a very good chance if somebody says, you know what, that other company has a really good interface. I was able to fill in their application form in 10 minutes. And the chances are pretty high you will close the app you're using, you'll download the other app, and you'll go to that other company with your business. So this is what it's all about. This is absolutely the number one game in town in terms of building computer systems, but it's also artificial intelligence. It's
Hmm.
getting bias out of artificial intelligence systems. And most computer systems are built by young people, probably 3/4 of them male. They're bringing a very particular kind of perspective to how they build the systems. They're bringing a lot of prior knowledge. And the reality is the majority of users are different. If it's computer games, the majority of users are probably younger. The big thing in computer games is to try and get more women involved in computer games, but most of the developers aren't women. If it's insurance applications, most of the people are probably older. So you have this kind of disjunction between the people who are using the applications and the people who are building the applications. And you need this other layer of people, the cyber psychologists, who really deeply understand the audience that you're building the system for. And they become part of the team. And basically, it's their job to say to the hotshot programmers, no, hang on, I know that looks really cool to you, but I can guarantee you the non-computer literate people using that insurance app are going to find those boxes really difficult because they do not understand the prompts for the data they're supposed to put in. Just simple things like that make a huge difference.
And just in terms of, I suppose, the cyber psychology program, similar to what probably cyber security was a number of years ago, this is a growth area. There will
Yeah.
be very likely to be many graduate careers and opportunities. But just can you tell the viewers, just in terms of the cost of this program, what are we talking in terms of fees for this program for those who would be looking to join it?
Again, for if you're Irish or you're kind of resident in Ireland and you meet the residency requirements, then it's €5,000. If you're an international
Mhm.
student, I think it's about €12,500. But again, contact the international office because there are discounts available. Um, and again, I mean, that's really, 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 really competitive. If you look at equivalent
Yeah,
courses in the UK, you're typically talking about kind of £12,000 sterling, which is about €14,000. So it's very, and
fantastic.
again, for international students, the cost of living in Letterkenny is, really quite affordable. It's much lower than, say, the other Irish cities and much lower than the UK.
Yeah. So if you've just joined us, we're here with Thomas Dowling. We're going to be moving on to Dr. Patty Hannigan and Anne Bonner following our conversation with Thomas. But as we wrap up now with you, Thomas, we're just going to mention about the conversion style MSc in data
Mhm.
science. It's a new program. It too, I suppose, big demands in terms of graduate careers, graduate opportunities. Can you just give a sense of what this new program is offering at LYIT?
Yeah, so the classic kind of computer science graduate is the person who makes up the majority of people who go into things like big data and that. But a lot of people, depending on their background, they can bring other perspectives. It's kind of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. People who've come maybe from kind of arts backgrounds can bring very strong communication skills. People coming from engineering backgrounds can bring in really, really strong maths skills. So the idea of the MSc in computer science, which is a new course, is that you do a number of modules online over the summer, which prepare you to do the course. So but it's a master, so you want to hit the ground running and you want to be doing quality work pretty quickly. And if you're coming in from a completely non-computing background, which the students will be, that's difficult to do. So we do a bridging course over the summer online, which is about 2 months long. It covers databases, it covers kind of maths that are relevant to the field, and it covers computer programming. Um, Very high quality course. We got a lot of funding to develop the resources for the course. So there's really, really good tools, videos, and tutorials and that available. And then in September you start doing the course, and as I say, you hit the ground running. You don't have to go in computing background. None of the people doing the course will have a computing background, but there is an expectation that you will get up to speed rapidly. And employers have been telling us that they're really excited about this course because they just cannot hire enough data science graduates.
And again, going back to that kind of emphasis on employment and the amount of opportunities that are in Ireland alone in this space. We're just going to touch briefly now before I wrap up with you, Thomas, because I'm conscious that I want to move now and change things up in terms of electronic and mechanical engineering. But just our MSc in research and then the PhD in research at
Mhm.
LYIT. Typically, when would these opportunities be advertised and made available in terms of the Department of Computing?
Okay, so there's two types of students predominantly that do these programs. There's the part-time people who are working in industry, and they can do kind of an MSc through research, typically over 3 years. They can do a PhD through research in kind of 5 to 6 years, maybe 6 years, which I know sounds like a real long commitment, but it's the absolute pinnacle of the qualifications ladder. And it's all about kind of the research method. The idea is that people assume that if you do sort of research qualification, you must be going into lecturing. But of course, companies do huge amounts of research now, and Enterprise Ireland in particular
Mhm.
fund a huge amount of research in the private sector. And those companies aren't doing um, kind of small research projects. They're running big research projects trying to solve really fundamental problems. And they need people who have been trained to do research, which is a different skill set from what your undergraduate degree will normally teach you. Um, So, as I say, people in industry have the option to come in and do the courses part-time whilst they work. Very often they do projects that are linked to their work as well, and we're happy to kind of accommodate that with their employer. And then we also have people who do them full-time, and normally they do them, I mean, we'll take anyone as long as they're kind of suitable and they have, we have did that kind of meet all the criteria in terms of qualifications and motivation and communication skills and that. But realistically, the majority of people who do them probably do them with some sort of a grant. And there's various different types of grants available from the Irish government for international students. But the most common one we have is what we call the President's Awards. So every year, staff compete to get President's Awards. So they put in proposals for research projects at PhD and at master's level. It's quite a competitive process. And the best projects are selected by an independent external panel, and they're awarded the grant. And then they advertise probably in March, we hope, if we can get everything organized, for people to come and do the projects the following September. And again,
That's
those
fantastic.
President's Awards, they're up on our website. If you look under the research section, well, they're not there yet, but they will be as soon as in March. And you can apply online, and they're available to Irish and non-Irish, non-EU candidates. We're absolutely open to everybody, and we have plenty of people from around the world studying here as research students.
It's fantastic. And thanks, Thomas. Thomas, a question has come in from Emma McLaughlin. She wants to know if we have time, can we talk just quickly on those conversion courses into computing? So we did mention, Emma, about the new MSc conversion in data science, but we also then have that higher diploma conversion into computing course for anybody who is in any discipline that from any discipline area that wants to move into computing. And they have been offered over the last few years on Springboard. Now, we can't guarantee, and Thomas, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that they'll be funded going forward. But again, that's another conversion course for anybody thinking about getting into the computing industry with a non-computing discipline. So that's a higher diploma conversion into computing. And as Thomas mentioned here tonight, the MSc in data science. Thomas, to wrap up now with yourself, and we are running a little bit over here for those that are watching, can you tell me, I suppose, the key things that set us apart here at LYIT in your department, the Department of Computing?
I would say the key thing that sets kind of us and institutes of technology generally, first of all, is that our courses are very hands-on. Our priority is on producing graduates who are job ready. And I went to an Institute of Technology, Tralee. Then I went on to university. And when I finished university, I went out onto the job market. Virtually everything I spoke about in interviews was what I had done in Tralee. And I'm very grateful to the university I got my degree from. But what I learned in Tralee were much more practical, hands-on skills, much less theoretical. And I think that is very much the ethos of the Institute of Technology sector. In Letterkenny, I think what sets us apart is that we really have just a fabulous, fabulous team of people working in the department and working in the college. Really great sort of morale, really open, good sense of camaraderie between people, very flexible in terms of kind of working with the students and working with our colleagues, and a real strong emphasis on trying to be a really strong department producing the highest quality courses for our graduates.
Yeah, and I think that's a ringing endorsement for, I suppose, not only your team but also just the institute as a whole in terms of the sector, and how we operate and compete within, I suppose, the sector. So I suppose that connection again, with the lecturing team and also with industry, that sets us apart. So Thomas, thank you so much for joining us. We're now going to be joined by Dr. Patty Hannigan. He is the head of Department of Electronic and Mechanical Engineering. So in terms of yourself, Dr. Patty Hannigan, you're very welcome, and thanks for waiting,
Thank you.
in terms of joining us here this evening. So Patty, can you tell me, I suppose, a little bit about the programs available in your department? We're going to start first of all with the BSc in Electric Vehicle Engineering. Can you talk to me about this program?
Yep, so the BSc in electric vehicle engineering now is being offered at the moment through Springboard, and this is now the second time that it's been offered through Springboard. So it's targeted at uh, people who have completed their their advanced certificate in motor vehicle mechanics. So the target audience is those that are qualified mechanics, and it's allowing them to accumulate the skills that they require for what is now the exciting area of electric vehicle engineering. So that's who our target audience are, and obviously the focus then is in that element of motor mechanics that's different when it comes to electric vehicles as opposed to what was traditionally the case for our normal petrol or diesel engines.
Yeah.
So there's a big focus on the electrical element, and we have modules in sort of low voltage and high voltage electrical systems for cars, for high voltage fault diagnostics, and for the IT systems for cars. So that program has, as I say, it was offered through Springboard. It was very popular on the first offering, and we had 28 places that filled up fairly quickly. And now this is the second time we're offering it, and the places are going fairly quickly again. So there were 20 places to be offered, with the deadline for the course now being sort of the middle of February is when applications close.
And
But
in
yeah.
terms of the program, Patty, is it block delivery, or what way does the program work in terms of delivery? Is it on site, on campus at
Well,
LYIT?
I suppose these programs were developed sort of to coincide with what was the delivery system under COVID. So these programs were mostly delivered or designed for online delivery. So this program is almost entirely online delivery, but there are practical elements. So we run it in sort of 10-week blocks, where we run 2 modules each for each of the 10-week blocks, 2 evenings a week, and then in the middle of it, then we'll have a Saturday where we'll do practical work, and the students on the course then will come to the centre to do their work on the practical side.
Okay, and given that it's a Springboard course, cost, what are we talking about in terms of cost factor here?
Yeah, so they again, Springboard courses, they're free for those that are unemployed, and again, like many of the programs that were discussed earlier, there aren't many unemployed motor mechanics either, so they pay what is, it seemed to be 10% of the fee, so they pay about €590 towards
That's
the
very good.
program. So
Yeah,
that's what they're
but
coming
then
over
you're
to.
training in a new area. Again, similar to some of the discussions with your colleagues tonight. It's a growth area as well, and it's an area that I suppose the national and international agenda is moving towards. So electric vehicle engineering, so that cost side of things, opportunities then for somebody that was doing the program, the graduate careers.
So, well, I suppose what's happening here is these students are lining up, or the motor mechanics are lining up to do this course so that they're ready for what is coming down the line in terms of the changeover to more electric vehicles. So it's a good opportunity for them to familiarise themselves with the change in technology, but also there's that element of getting a certified qualification, which then is useful for many of them in terms of other career opportunities that they then can pursue. And that involves things like motor testing and all of that type of work.
Yeah, and in terms of then moving into kind of part-time programs, the department, I suppose, in terms of the full-time program offers a level 7 and level 8 in electronic engineering, a level 7, level 8 in mechanical engineering. We now have a new level 8 program in biomedical engineering, a new level 8 in computing and mathematics, and then our higher certificate in electric vehicle engineering. These programs can be done as a part-time option for somebody who maybe left before and maybe has a kind of undergrad qualification and then wants to come back part time. Is that correct?
Yeah, so all of our awards you can do under this accumulation of credits. So typically each year has 60 credits. So you can take on a subset of those in your studies. So you can come and study our full-time programs on a part-time basis and take them take a pathway through them. Now, again, as you were saying, many people have already completed an element of these programs. So they may have done a higher certificate or may have done an ordinary degree before, and then can step back in and continue their studies on a part-time basis by taking elements of the program. So, and they can take them in, one day or a day and a half study per week, and we would accommodate them as best we can in terms of the timetable to allow them to take on those
Fantastic.
programs.
Yeah. And now, as we progress towards Atlantic Technological University, do you see, I suppose, there being more opportunities in this space for learners?
Yeah, so there's quite a bit of activities you can imagine going on between the partners. So that happens on the 1st of April. So this is the designation for the Technological University. And then there's opportunities then for further collaboration in terms of part-time provision. So there has been a big focus under this transition to the new university on online programs, and there was quite a significant amount of government funding for this, the TUTF funding, which is Technological University Transformation Funding. So a lot of that funding is available in terms of online programs. So I can see an explosion that will happen in terms of opportunities, organised through the 3 colleges, ourselves, IT, Sligo and GMIT, in terms of offering part-time programs. So, and those will be available, probably starting from September.
That's fantastic in terms of more opportunities. And just the space of research, the Department of Electronic and Mechanical Engineering is very strong in the area of research. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of interreg centres that have been associated with the department. So these are Centre for Personalised Medicine. Sorry, I picked the wrong one. The Northwest Centre for Advanced Manufacturing is a project that the department is involved with, and another project that the department is involved in is the Brighton Centre for Renewable Energy. So our partners in the Centre for Advanced Manufacturing involve universities in Scotland, but also universities is a key partner in that. And when it comes to the Brighton Centre, University in Highlands and Islands in Scotland is involved, but also Queen's University of Belfast are the main drivers for that, and Ulster University are also partners. So we've had over that period quite a few opportunities for students, certainly in the Brighton Centre, to pursue a PhD study, and that was under this Interreg European funding. But that's also an area that's going to see significant growth. So there's going to be Peace Plus funding, which is going to see a significant enhancement of that funding. So there will be further opportunities for research in these types of centres, applied centres.
Yeah, so it sounds like a big time of growth, a big time of change, but also a big time for opportunities to develop in that space again, in the part-time, online and research space within your own department. If I was to ask you now, I suppose, what sets the Department of Electronic and Mechanical Engineering apart from other similar departments across the sector, what would you say it is?
Well, I suppose, yes, as Thomas was talking about in terms of the practical side, that is a big focus of the hands-on element is a big driver in terms of, so the students get to actually do quite a lot of practical work and get to build things and get pride in seeing equipment that they build actually doing things. So that's a big driver and a big interest for them. But obviously what's useful in this is that it's an area of constant change. So it's a very dynamic area in terms of cross electronics, mechanical. The biomedical area will be the same. There's a lot of technological change. These are very interesting areas. There's great capacity for students to sort of take ownership of their own learning and to take on innovative projects. So projects are a key part of it, and the projects are typically done in years 3 and year 4 of these programs, and even in year 1 we have students building pieces of equipment that they control with their phones, so little devices that move around the floor and they steer them. And so that's the type of, so it's a very hands-on approach, and students are very keen on their sort of future career path, and they know that there's opportunities for them in industry, so that there's plenty of career opportunities too. So that's an
Yeah.
important positive that feeds back into the students on the courses.
And that is a running theme in the Faculty of Engineering and Technology session tonight, is those career opportunities. Dr. Patty Hannigan, thanks so much for joining me. I'm now going to move on this evening, and we're going to connect in with Anne Boner. And Anne Boner is the head of Department of Civil Engineering and Construction. So Anne, you're really welcome to tonight's session. Thanks so much for joining us. And I suppose in terms of yourself, I would be delighted if you would give me, I suppose, a bit of an introduction as to who you are and the department that you represent.
Well, thank you, Fiona. Delighted to be here tonight talking about what we're doing here in the Department of Civil Engineering and Construction. Right, so as you said, I'm head of department. I'm a civil engineer myself, that's my background, but I also have a qualification in architecture as a master's program. So basically what we have is we have all the different disciplines that you find in the construction industry. We have them all combined together in this department. So on one side, we've got engineering, like civil engineering, we've got fire safety engineering, we have building engineering. And on the other side, then on the more construction side, we have quantity surveying, we have architectural technology and construction management, as well as the part-time courses that we're going to be talking about tonight.
Okay, so in terms of the programs we're going to start off with tonight, we're going to start off with the program that is currently recruiting in that part-time space, and it's the BSc Honours in Construction Contracts Management. So can you tell me a bit about this course and the entry requirements?
Yes, well, first of all, this course is funded like a Springboard course, but it actually comes under a human capital initiative, right? So it's an area that the government have identified that they really want people to get into, and they want people to do what they consider is a conversion course to get into the area of whole contracts management, right? So it means for the student, it means that the course is heavily subsidized. So they pay about 10% of what it would normally have cost. So I think the fee comes in at around 700 if you're in employment, or it's free if you're unemployed. Okay,
Yeah, and that's
so
a
to
big
do the course
attraction.
now, you do need a background in construction. So I suppose the ideal candidate would have a level 7 or a ordinary degree in construction or construction management. But if you have another construction related degree like civil engineering level 7 or whatever, or you're working in construction and you can make up the difference between your qualification and what would be expected, you're also welcome to apply, because we can use RPL, right? So what it does is it's a 1-year course, and we basically take you and do an intensive course in construction contracts management. So the main or the key modules in it are construction management itself, and that's divided between the 2 semesters. In one semester you do pre-contract construction management, and the other one you do post-contract construction management. So the sort of issues or the areas that come into things that we've heard talked about before earlier on tonight in law is dispute resolution, where you're talking about mediation, arbitration, conflict resolution, things like that as it applies to construction. We have things like statutory approval, so you look at legislation, health and safety planning. So a lot of it is the legal aspects of planning. There is a whole plethora of construction contracts out there, some of them quite new to the industry, the government contracts or IEI contracts. Anybody working in the industry has maybe come across some of these and has a very basic idea of what they are. This will look at it in depth so that you'll be able to decipher one contract from the other and be able to legislate for or be able to set up these different contracts. Right?
Okay, so
So
a question for you in relation to I suppose the course. You mentioned it's 1 year, but
yeah,
what would the commitment be per week, or is this a block program in terms of delivery?
well, I suppose I've had a lot of inquiries about it, and a lot of the people who work in this sort of area of construction management are very busy. They're all working. Now, they would like the course to be online, but that's not the kind of course that we have, because this course has an emphasis on teamwork and collaboration and working together, doing case studies collaboratively as a group work, right? So it would be a different course if it was online. So that's not the sort of course that we have. What we have is an emphasis on doing real projects or working with real projects, we have condensed it down to 2.5 days essentially. So at the moment for this semester, the timetable runs on a Tuesday, Wednesday and a half day Friday. So if
Okay.
somebody has a bit of flexibility in their work and would be able to dedicate those days, or say 2.5 days in each semester, to the course, they'd be very welcome to apply, certainly.
It's fantastic. There's a question that's come in here live on Zoom, and it's asking about a person who's coming from an apprentice background, has apprenticeships in 2 different trades, but doesn't have an undergraduate degree in construction. Would they be eligible for consideration for this program?
Well, I suppose the apprenticeship typically is a level 6 qualification, right? And the ordinary degree is a level 7. So what we are looking for is people with level 7 or equivalent. Now, if through their work practices they are at a level 7 equivalent, certainly they'd be considered.
Yeah.
But
This
they would
individual
have to
is
be at the
mentioning
level 7
this
equivalent.
individual's mentioned having 10 years experience in the field. So definitely what we'd suggest to this individual is actually touch base with us maybe after tonight's
Yeah,
session and send us
yeah.
an email to either ann.bonner@lyit.ie or fiona.kelly@lyit.ie, and we'll definitely be able to come back to you on that
Yeah.
in relation
And
to your experience.
the course is on the Springboard website. So you go on to springboardcourses.ie and you can make an application on that, which will then be
That's
assessed.
fantastic. That's brilliant. We're going to move now just and change things a little, and we're going to talk
Yep.
about the BSc Honours in Fire Safety Engineering. Again, it's online, a 60 credit course. Can you tell me a little bit about the
Yeah.
program and what you'll cover?
Right. Well, I suppose anybody that knows anything about the Department of Civil Engineering Construction here at Letterkenny IT knows that we have a specialism or expertise in fire safety engineering. And we have been running a 1-year add-on BSc Honours in Fire Safety Engineering since 2001, so over 20 years now. It was sort of coming to the stage where the numbers coming onto it were going down, because we also have an ab initio 4-year honours degree, and we developed honours degrees for all of the other disciplines that would originally have gone into fire safety engineering. So people started asking, are we going to run this online and so on? And it took the pandemic really to give us that push over the line and make it an online course, because so much of it, due to the pandemic, had to be delivered online anyway. So the situation is now we have the BSc Honours add-on virtually totally, almost totally online. So it's a 1-year course. Again, your background has to be a level 7 in a construction related program. So whether that's civil engineering, architectural technology, construction management, or even some of the other electrical engineering, or even mechanical engineering with construction experience. We have a wide range of people from a wide range of backgrounds coming onto it, right? So if you have a level 7 minimum degree, you do this 1-year add-on. Now it runs over 4 10-week sessions. So the course starts in September and you take 2 modules at a time. So the first 10 weeks runs up until December. And then you start the next 10 weeks until March, and then the next 10 weeks until June. And then over the summer, you do a project and personal professional development, employability skills module as well. Right.
Okay, and
So
cost associated
there
with
are
the
2
program.
days, sorry, there are 2 days labs in the middle of that. If anybody looks at the schedule, there are 2 days labs, which we try and have people attend. Now, in exceptional circumstances, we can do the labs online as well, because this year we did have 2 students who were overseas. So we're not going to ask you to come back from overseas to do the labs. But if you're in the country, yes, we are going to ask you to do 2 days labs, which isn't a whole lot.
And cost, Anne, on that program?
Right. This year we ran it with, we currently have about 25 students on it, and the fee is 3,500. Now, there
Okay.
was no other funding available to them, unless on an individual level somebody might have got a SkillNet funding. But we have applied for Springboard funding for it for
Yeah.
next year, so it may be available on Springboard. Otherwise, the fee would be similar, 3,500.
That's perfect. And again, for
Yeah.
anybody watching tonight that is interested in Springboard, generally that is advertised around May, June time. So just watch this space for any of the programs that we've mentioned tonight to see if they are coming through in Springboard in 2022. We're moving in now to the Certificate in Applied Fire Safety Management, Anne. It's a short level 7 course
Yeah.
online. And again, can you just give us a brief overview on this program and the commitment?
Yeah. Well, this course was developed for people who really have fire safety management as part of their remit. So say they're working in retail or in industry or office management or something, and fire safety management is part of their job spec or whatever, they want to find out a little bit about it. So we were sort of trying to aim it towards people like that with little or no background in fire safety. But what we find is a lot of the people coming onto it actually do have a fire safety background, but it might be fire safety equipment or different aspects of the industry or trade, right? So basically what it is we run the course over 3 days in January. So it's a full day, pretty much 9:30 to 5:30 this year, and last year as well we ran it. So that was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of last week. And then starting tonight now, the students have a 2-hour tutorial online. The 3 days last week were online as well. It's all online. They have a tutorial now for 6 weeks in a row, and then they submit a projects around the beginning of March to complete the 10 credit certificate.
Okay. And then moving in then to the certificate in Revit and 4D BIM. It's a Springboard level 7, 30
Yeah.
credits again available online. What will you cover in this program?
Right. Well, BIM is building information modeling, right? So it's 3D modeling, and it's become sort of a bit of a buzzword in the construction industry because it has really taken over and changed how things are done. So it demands a certain level of collaboration between all of the different disciplines when creating the online or model of a building. So essentially it's a drawing tool at the very basic level, but it also does things like scheduling, it does energy performance, it does quantities, does all sort of aspects of it can apply depending on which level that you go up from, the basic level, from level 2, 3D, 4D, up to, I think we're up to 7D now. Costing and everything can come into it, right? So it's basically a computer generated model of the building. So all aspects can be taken from the one module. So students who go on that are maybe they've done a little bit of AutoCAD. Some of them might already have done a little bit of Revit, which is the software that we use. So they basically want to hone their skills, improve their skills at 3D modeling. And it runs over 2 semesters. There's 2 modules in each semester. The larger module, or the 10 credit module, is in Revit. So the first one is BIM with Revit, and the second one is BIM for virtual design and construction. And then there's a smaller module with each one. One is the personal professional development and employability skills, and the second one then is building energy performance. So it all relates back to what you're doing on your Revit and on your BIM. So that course starts in January, but I'm afraid it's fully filled up now for this year. So it'll be next January before we can offer it again, because it's on Springboard, so it's very well funded and it fills up.
Yeah, it's a big draw in terms of it, and it's a 1-year course, and it's over 2 semesters, and intake in January, and hopefully Springboard funding again for the program
following year,
in the next iteration. And we're going to touch on just some of the short courses. So we have the certificate in introductory construction, economics, and land surveying, and then also the certificate in financial and building energy management. So can you touch on both of those programs for me? Both short courses, 10 credits, both on campus.
Yeah, I suppose like we have an awful lot of modules across the whole department, and that's one thing about the department is like we share an awful lot of modules and we collaborate, and the different disciplines work together a lot more than if it was, say, in some of the bigger colleges you might have distinct departments for different disciplines within the construction industry, whereas we have them all together in one department. So oftentimes there are modules that are of interest to people out there. So what we've done is we've combined some of them into get you not just module certification, but
a certificate in particular topics. So the certificate in Introductory Construction Economics and Land Surveying, so that's one of them. So it's basically means that people can come in and join our modules or join our courses for one morning or one afternoon a semester. So if you came in this semester, you would be doing land surveying with GIS on a Tuesday morning, say, and then next semester on a Monday afternoon, you would do measurement and construction economics. So it works very well for people who have an interest in specifically those two areas, or maybe they're more interested in one or the other, but if they do the two together, they know they'll get a certificate out of it at the end. Right.
Fantastic.
So
And
it
then I
relates
suppose,
to a lot of the disciplines. It gives you a basic training or understanding in those subject areas.
and I would safely say that's the same then when it comes to certificate in construction financial management, and then the certificate in physics
Yeah.
fundamentals and renewable energy, that they too can
Right.
be nearly built
Well,
upon.
the construction financial management is slightly different in that it's a 10 credit module that we have here in financial management. It runs maybe an afternoon and a morning, say Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, first semester, right? So you can come in and join in and do those. For the other one that you mentioned was the certificate
Physics
in financial and
fundamentals.
building certificate in financial and building energy management first is 2 separate semesters. You do one module in each, again typically a half day. And the physics fundamentals and renewable energy, you would be basically coming in and joining in with our class groups when those classes are on. So it just
Okay.
gives you a taster, it gives you an idea
Yeah.
of some of the things that you could come in, because really there's nothing to stop anybody coming in and doing one module if they have a particular interest in a particular module. And we do have currently, like we have one student who has been coming in and doing maybe 10 credits, 15 credits a year on different things that are of interest and relevant to his job for the last 4 years. So you
And
can do
similar
that.
to what Patty was saying earlier about being able to nearly take the full-time programs on a part-time and almost piecemeal
Yeah,
basis.
yeah,
And in reference again to that single subject certification, whereby it varies, you can take certificates, for instance, in 4D BIM, Navisworks,
yeah, yeah.
um, and being able to do it flexibly. The department kind of, again, those full-time programs available flexibly to anybody maybe out in industry.
Yeah, well, if people sort of are interested in doing a particular module, they can come in and look at our timetables, and I look at the timetables with them and
Fantastic.
say, if this would suit you, this is how it could be set up so that
That's
people could
brilliant.
come in and do individual modules. Yeah.
And there's one or two questions. One of the questions that came in was the BSc Honours in Construction. Is it the same 2.5 days a week, or does it differ?
Well, for this semester, as I've just completed the timetables, right, and how it works out is it's Tuesday and Wednesday all day and then a half day Friday. But the next semester, which will be come September to do the second semester of it, it might be different days, because you will be in with the fourth year of the BSc Honours Construction Management Group. So it'll have to mirror their timetables to a certain extent. Now, they won't be doing all of the same subjects, but they'll be doing the majority of the same subjects with you. And what we have is, as I said, it can be taken in any order. So this year we aim to start it now in January and have students come in and do this summer semester first of all, and then complete the winter semester afterwards.
Okay. And just as we wrap up, I've asked this question of each of the heads of departments tonight. What sets out and sets you apart, the head of as the head of Department of Civil Engineering and Construction, from other departments similar to you at LYIT?
Well, I suppose what sets us apart is the level of collaboration and so on that we have within across different courses. Like, for example, we have a module in our second year where all of the disciplines in the department work together on what we call an integrated project, and employers are looking for this more and more. They're looking for teamwork skills, they're looking for collaboration skills, they're looking for students to be able to do group work and to be effective, because that's how it works in real life. You're working on a design team or a construction team, and you have to know what everybody else is doing, you have to know what their roles are. And I think we do that effectively in bringing them all together to work as design team professionals or construction professionals to work together.
And that preparation for the world of work is a kind of something that
Yeah.
both Patty and Thomas have highlighted tonight in terms of the
Yeah.
Faculty of Engineering and Technology. And thank you so much for joining us. And also for those who are watching, we are running a little bit over and we're going to be moving to Dr. Louise McBride, Head of Department of Nursing and Healthcare, in the next session. I want to thank Patty, Thomas, and Anne for joining us this evening. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to email fiona.kelly@lyit.ie, and I'll be able to forward your questions to my colleagues who have joined us tonight. So we'll be back with you in a few minutes, and we're going to be joined by Dr. Louise McBride, Head of Department of Nursing and Healthcare. And welcome back to our series of webinars on our part-time and postgraduate programs available at Letterkenny IT. My name's Fiona Kelly, I'm LYIT Marketing Manager, and we're coming to you live tonight on Zoom, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So we're going to be joined now by Dr. Louise McBride, who is the Head of Department of Nursing and Healthcare at Letterkenny IT. So you're very welcome, Louise.
Good evening, Fiona.
So thanks so much for popping on with us tonight. You're the last of our departments to feature this evening, but we'll save the best to last. Is that right, Louise?
They're your words, not mine.
So, in terms of the programs, we have a lot to cover because one thing I suppose that's very strong in your department is the number of programs and the constant developments in part time and postgraduate across your department. So, let's get started with the certificate in contemporary healthcare management. Can you tell me a little bit about this program and who might be eligible to join it?
Okay, well, this certificate in healthcare management actually was in response to a service need and demand from our community, aging and caring. So essentially, those that would be interested in doing it are people who are in clinical healthcare positions, be they in management or in what they allude to PIC, a person in charge. So that might be somebody in a community hospital, in an acute setting, in TUSLA, or in an allied healthcare professional area. And I suppose from a HICWA point of view, any of the healthcare areas that are inspected, there is a requirement that people in charge, persons in charge or management positions will have a minimum of a level 7 in the area of leadership and management. So this was to harness in response to a service need and demand. But it's important to note, Fiona, that it's actually an embedded certificate in part and parcel of our postgraduate and our masters in advancing health and social care.
Okay, so it can be a standalone in its own right, but then it also you can consider the postgrad or the MSc in advancing in health and social care. So maybe for somebody who wanted to start out with this, it would be a good stepping stone. Would that be right?
Absolutely. And what we find with continuing professional development with anybody in the allied healthcare is that in chunk sizes, people find it more, doable. So we have indeed people who have come on board to do the certificate, the 30 credits, 3 modules, which is delivered on a part-time basis. And then when they complete that, they say, well, what's the next progression from this? So they can progress on and do the next 30 credits, which there is also an embedded choice of an elective. And before they know it, they could have a postgraduate or indeed a master's completed. So it's very
It's a,
it's very doable. Yeah.
Yeah, very doable and probably a little less daunting too, I suppose. Louise, being able to say, I'm going to take this bit now and then maybe I'm going to add to it as I go, especially for busy people, as you
Yeah.
mentioned in terms of their own careers,
Mhm.
to be eligible for this program. When does this program recruit for? So when would be the next intake and what would be the cost of the program, the certificate in contemporary healthcare management?
Okay, so it's part and parcel, as we've said, of the postgrad and the masters. So the next time the modules would be running would actually be September 2022, because we've just our modules that are running in part of this embedded award are elective ones for this semester. So September 2022, we would have the research module running. And the beauty of it also is that they can do 1 or 2 modules, depending on how it's actually sequenced. So it's a really good time for people planning maybe towards, next year for the academic point of view, particularly as you've said, practitioners, they're busy, they're full time, they're in very busy healthcare settings. So it's very attractive for them to actually plan and say, right, I'll do 1 module now in September to December next year, and then I'll continue on, and then they would have their certificate completed.
And
The
you
cost.
mentioned,
Mhm.
yeah, go for it, yeah, Louise, mentioned the cost side.
Yeah, so on the basis that the full master's cost in the region of 5,750, when you break it down to 30 credits, it would be in the region of 2,500. So it would be per module that they would be completing it. But then they could obviously progress on. It's important to note that there was July stimulus funding available for this, and we had quite a significant uptake on it in the past. But we are finding people who are interested in doing it, particularly if they're in a person of charge or a management post, that there may be available funding from their employee, particularly if they're working in the HSE sector, Fiona.
That's good. So supported, probably multifaceted in terms of financially, in terms
Absolutely.
that you mentioned that this program is part of or an element of the postgrad or the MSc in Advancing Health and Social Care. That's a particularly successful program in the Department of Nursing and Nursing and Healthcare. But in terms of the program, for anybody who maybe doesn't know a lot about the program tonight, can you set the scene in terms of what is the program in Advancing Health and Social Care?
Okay, so the program was approved back in 2017, and I suppose the whole impetus of developing the program was to have progression for our graduates, which at the time we had a department which had nursing, early education, and health and social care graduates. So it was to harness and offer progression route for those, but it was also an opportunity to afford qualified people in the area of healthcare to actually progress from a lifelong ethos or to upskill or indeed to actually consider a career change. So it's a full-time 1-year program and part-time over 2 years. And it's a total of 60 credits for the postgraduate and 90 for the master's. And as I've already said, the certificate is embedded. So the core modules there, as they are, you would expect with a master's, you do leadership and management, you do legal and ethics, and you also do advanced research. So that's really the certificate, the 30 credits. We also then offer elective choice for the student to choose. So there's a nice suite of elective choices there, including, for example, e-health, which is very contemporary with the whole digital transformation post-pandemic. We also have a module on sustainability, and our most popular module on the elective currently is the teaching and learning. So obviously those that work in the clinic area, there's a huge emphasis on the practitioner being a mentor and a supervisor, particularly if they've student nurses or students, social workers or whatever it might be in the area. And we also then have 2 other specialist modules, which is CBT and mindfulness and behaviours of concern. So as I've said at the outset, it's open to quite a multidisciplinary learner. And the beauty of that is, from a networking point of view, you just don't have nurses in the room. You'll have social workers, you'll have OTs, you have a physio. And I think that connectivity from a multidisciplinary point of view is very, very important, because they work in synergy in the clinical area, and now you have them in a room, in a platform, in a learning environment. So it really does embrace the multidisciplinary aspect and the networking between the different professions, as I've outlined.
That's fantastic. And in terms of then graduate careers and opportunities, this program in terms of progression, what could it lead to in terms of careers and opportunities?
Okay, well, it's probably best to look at some of the graduates that have actually gone through this program. So several come to mind, but in the last couple of years, we have a nurse who was in a management position in the clinical practice, did the master's, and actually is in an academic post. He's progressed on into an academic lecturing post. So that's one strand that they can progress onto. Certainly in terms of career development or career advancement, we have quite a number of our graduates who have applied for promotional jobs, be they in advanced practice or indeed in clinical specialist practice. And also then we have many who have pursued the research and that whole sort of capacity building in terms of publication. So, there's several. Obviously, leadership and management promotion is one. Then you've got the education going into actually lecturing, and you've also then the capacity for indeed graduates to go into the whole area of research and to maybe perhaps even pursue a funded or a taught PhD also.
That's fantastic. So it's multifaceted, really, in terms of opportunities. In terms of then the other established master's program that we offer in the department is the MSc in Therapeutic Interventions for Alcohol and Other Drugs. This is done in collaboration, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, with the Donegal Alcohol Forum, or it was initially developed with the Alcohol Forum. But can you tell me a bit about the program and who made it suit in terms of entry requirements?
So as you've alluded to, the curriculum development team was inclusive of our partners, Donegal Alcohol Forum. And I suppose it's important to note that they had the expertise, obviously, because it's therapeutics in alcohol and other drugs. So it again is a level 9, 2-year part-time, 1-year full-time. And we have it in place now since 2017. There is a selection of modules. There's one research module which is core delivered with our other masters, but the other modules, as you'll see on the website, are very specialized. So it is quite specialized, and it's probably most attractive to somebody who's working in the area of mental health, nursing, in the allied healthcare professions like psychology, counselling, addiction services, youth and community, TUSLA. We've had quite a lot of interest in actually career teachers because of, I suppose, the contemporary challenges of not just adults, but the other alcohol related issues, particularly the impact that has on child and family. So we actually have delivered delivered one of these modules on a standalone basis, the hidden harm, which was very popular with teachers, youth workers. We had Gardaí and we had medics on it. So there's an array of different people that might do it, but it's connected to probably their full-time post and how they would harness and enhance their skills around recovery, around interventions, and around, I suppose, the theoretical fundamentals and the foundations of issues connected to alcohol and other drugs.
Yeah, and again, established and those connections with all different, I suppose, stakeholder groups really makes it very, very, I suppose, in terms of a community of learning, the learning environment very interesting when you've such a diverse group of people on the program.
Mhm. And I suppose the other thing to note is the fact that we have collaborated with Donegal Alcohol Forum. We have the expertise there in terms of guest lectures, and there's visiting professors that come to deliver on it, and then that affords then the actual adult learner to actually apply that theory to their own discipline, whether they're in careers, whether they're in youth, whether they're in nursing, mental health, so they can actually apply it to their given discipline to enhance the evidence-based knowledge that the area that they're working in.
That's fantastic. And a new area, a new master's program that has been developed at LYIT is the MSc in Professional Nursing. So, in terms of, I suppose, this program, can you tell me a little bit about it and also, again, elaborate on the entry requirements for the program in Professional Nursing?
Okay, so as you've probably gleaned from our conversation to date, I suppose we really do believe in the ethos that there is, there's synergy and collaboration and in partnership. So we partnered with the other institutes of technology, departments of nursing, and we created this master's in professional nursing. So essentially, it is for qualified registered nurses who want to work in the area towards clinical nurse specialism or indeed advanced practice. So it's a collaborative program. It's 1 year full-time, 2 years part-time. It was just accredited by QQI and the Nursing Midwifery Board of Ireland in the summer of last year. And due to the pandemic, we didn't get it off the ground, Fiona. So we're actually actively marketing that, and it will hopefully will be delivered in partnership with the other institutes of technology. It will be a blended approach in terms of that it will be virtually streamlined from the different institutes of technology. So you could have hypothetically a cohort here in Donegal completing the course, and Letterkenny might be delivering one module. There will be other students connected to in the northeast, Dundalk, Louth, Dublin, wherever, and down south, and also in the northwest. So it's quite dynamic, and we are building on the existing consortium collaboration that we've had with our special purpose wards, which we will discuss. So ideally, it would be of interest to a graduate nurse in nursing in any of the disciplines who wants to again harness their theory, their advanced practices and evidence-based knowledge in the area of professional nursing. So you'd need to be a level 8 graduate. We do consider level 7, those that would be maybe traditionally trained that don't have a level 8, if they have an accreditation of portfolio of prior learning or even an RPL profile. So we won't eliminate, but we'd also look at entrance. So we're quite excited about this because, as you said, it's new, it's a consortium, and it's certainly, I suppose, the unique selling point about it is that it's networking with nurses, not only multidiscipline, but across the nation as such. So it's a really exciting platform, and we're really looking forward to delivering that in September 2022.
That's fantastic. And in terms of the cost of that program, Louise, is it a similar cost to the other MSc programs?
It's more expensive because of the consortium arrangements. So the other two masters that we spoke about in total are 5,750, whereas the masters in professional nursing is 10,800. Now there isn't funding available for it at the moment, but we are aware if you're an employee, i.e. a registered nurse in the HSC, that there is some available funding through your NMPDU, which is our Nursing Practice Development Unit, or your CNME, your Centre of Nursing and Midwifery. So we'd encourage anybody in this space who's interested in this to obviously discuss it with their line manager or the person in charge, and then to reach out to those two, practice development or the Centre of Nursing and Midwifery, with regards to available funding.
And you mentioned there, we touched on those other, I suppose, certificate options that are available at LYIT. And one such certificate is a certificate in emergency nursing and acute medicine. What level is this program at, and what are the entry requirements?
Okay, so both are special purpose awards, and both are level 8 or level 9. Okay, so they're actually they are again geared and focused at somebody who's a registered general nurse who wants to upskill and enhance their knowledge base in the two areas. So you've emergency nursing, so you have to be a qualified nurse, you have to have your level 8, you have to be registered with NMBI in the area, and you have to be working in emergency nursing. So ideally it would be for somebody who's working in an emergency department who wants to upskill. And again, there is funding available through the HSC for nurses to do it in that area. And then the acute medicine is similarly, it's a special purpose ward, and it's for those working in the acute medicine or the medical assessment unit in an acute hospital. And typically we have registered nurses doing both of those courses coming on board from Letterkenny University Hospital, from Sligo University Hospital, and we've actually also had some from Galvin and cross border because of our geographical closeness. And I suppose the beauty of this is that again it's delivered in collaboration with the other institutes of technology. So there's a multidisciplinary delivery, and part of it is hybrid. So they do their online piece. They can actually do it now from home. We traditionally pre-pandemic they came in here and we had a room where they actually sat as a class or a cohort, but with the pandemic we delivered it also virtually. And then for the skills element of it, which is also very important, they come on board here in campus, and we have, as you know, state-of-the-art clinical skills lab. We've invested quite significantly in our simulation labs to afford, state-of-the-art facilities for those simulation in the labs for both of those modules.
Yeah, and for anybody who hasn't had the chance and is in the space of thinking about maybe part-time postgraduate study or supporting somebody who maybe is thinking about undergraduate study, do book a visit with ourselves at Letterkenny IT and explore the facilities that are in your department, the Department of Nursing and Healthcare, because as you say, state of the art is an understatement. They are exceptional, and we be blown away when we bring say schools in for a walk through LYT to see the reaction when they go into what really is a hospital, like a mock hospital on campus at LYIT. So I suppose keeping in that, I suppose, facilities and exploring new possibilities, is the department exploring new program opportunities in the part-time postgraduate space?
I think it's fair to say that the landscape of higher education, whether it's postgrad or postgrad or is definitely expanding, Fiona, and likewise the landscape of how we actually deliver our healthcare service. So we're obviously very responsive to our graduates' needs, our service needs in the catchment area, but we also are very cognizant of the contemporary changes happening in the digital space, and indeed where and what our graduates want to do when they qualify and when they progress on. So in that space, is, I suppose, our focus as we move towards technological university is that not only will we foster new opportunities with our partners in Sligo and in GMIT, but that we will continue to nurture those existing partnerships that we have, like with the Donegal Alcohol, like we have with the consortium. But we're particularly keen to develop a postgraduate in general nursing. So essentially for somebody who might be a qualified nurse in mental health nursing, psychiatry, or in intellectual disability. We find that quite a lot of our graduates would like to do general nursing. And there is probably from a national point of view, quite a lot of emphasis on a postgraduate graduate program for nurses. So typically for our graduates in health and social care, that they could actually pursue a graduate entry course in nursing. So that's a little bit down the line in terms of development, but it's certainly an area that we need to actually, start to develop and work with. Obviously taking cognizance of the new Atlantic Technological University, we will continue to, foster those new relationships and collaborations with GMIT and Sligo. So it's a very exciting space. And I suppose the other thing to note is that uniquely, we will have nursing across the three campuses, which is not a feature of any other newly formed technological university. So it's an exciting opportunity for nursing across the Northwest to harness and develop and move forward and progress and develop courses in response to service needs and demands.
And it's an anniversary year at LYIT for nursing, isn't it?
Yes, we'll be celebrating 20 years of nursing delivery at Letterkenny University, or
Wow.
Letterkenny in collaboration with the HSC. So it is a very significant year on lots of different levels. And we will also be having an event to celebrate that. And we'll be, involving our past, our present, and indeed bringing on board hopefully some future potential students.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And in terms of, I suppose, the last question, and it's the last question I've been asking a lot of the heads of departments today in the context of part-time and postgraduate, what sets the Department of Nursing and Healthcare at Letterkenny IT apart from other similar departments and other institutions? What makes us different?
Well, I don't want to run the risk of being repetitive or duplication, but I suppose it's the synergy really and the importance of stakeholder engagement, partnership, and being responsive. But most importantly, I think the feedback we get back from our, particularly from a clinical skills point of view, is the resources. And as I've said, we're investing quite a lot of additional money in the area, simulation and equipment, including virtual learning. So I think that really sets us apart, our actual resources here on campus and how we're going to develop those. The student staff relationship has, feedback after feedback. I think all of my colleagues that have presented, that is a unique selling point of our full, our faculty and indeed across all departments. But I think from a nursing point of view, is most of our programs have actually come from feedback to develop something that is responsive to service need and demand. And that's why we think it's absolutely key that we have partnership and we have experts in the clinical area or indeed guest speakers, so that when adult learners come together, taking the time out to study part-time with us, that they really are motivated and invigorated, and they're filled with evidence-based practice and indeed enhanced learning that they can bring back to the bedside. So I think that's probably one of our unique selling points, Fiona.
Yeah, and you're such a great ambassador for the Department of Nursing and Healthcare and the full team at LYIT in terms of the lecturing team within your department are exceptional as well in terms of their own delivery and that again, that community that's there, whether you're an undergraduate, part-time or postgraduate student at LYIT's Department of Nursing. So that wraps up this evening. I think we've covered all of the questions in terms of Department of Nursing and Healthcare. But if somebody wanted to connect with you post tonight's event, Louise, how would they contact you?
Absolutely. Well, anything that I've mentioned tonight, there is so much more detail and information on our website. And there is my own email and contact details. And on each of the programs that we've outlined, there is an identifiable person attached to that. So go to the website, contact me, louise.mcbride@LYIT, and we'd be delighted to discuss or go into more detail with any of the courses that we've outlined. So happy to respond myself or indeed in any of the contact people on the website.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Louise. Okay, so that wraps up our evening showcasing 8 out of our 10 departments here at Letterkenny IT. We've covered the 3 faculties and touched on most of our, if not all, our part-time and postgraduate programs available across the departments. If you want to find out more, or if we haven't answered your questions tonight, you can always email fiona.kelly@lyit.ie, and we'd like to thank you for tuning in.